Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137.
Hi everybody, Nick here with your forecast for the weekend of August 16th, 2025, Friday. In the clear under mostly sunny skies. High, upper 50s. Wind, northwest, shifting west at 5 to 20 miles per hour, becoming light and variable at times, then increasing to 10 to 25 miles per hour. Friday night. In the clear under mostly clear skies. Low, upper 40s. Wind, west at 10 to 25 miles per hour, increasing to 20 to 35 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Saturday. Mostly in the clear under partly sunny skies. Slight chance of afternoon rain showers. High, upper 50s. Wind, west at 15 to 30 miles per hour early, 10 to 25 miles per hour midday, and 15 to 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 35 miles per hour later. Looking like some nice weather to start the weekend. Be safe, crush some peaks, happy hiking.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and beyond. Here are your hosts, Mike and Nick.
Did you hit record?
I hit record. I'm ready.
All right. I am cracking a beer. Welcome to 205, Nick.
Hello, Mike.
I'm hoping that I don't fry my brand new microphone. How's my microphone look?
You sound, well, I was going to say you look fantastic. You look legit with that nice brand new Shure microphone that we got.
Yeah,
it looks great.
My microphone evolution continues.
Yes, hopefully it sounds fantastic to the listeners. Not that you didn't sound fantastic already, but I was excited for your new mic.
I think Stomp said that I wanted to get dulcet sounds. Is that what I'm looking for? Is that what I'm going for?
Yeah, dulcet sounds. I don't know if it's dolce or dulcet. I'm not going to lie. I didn't actually dive more into that. I did look up the definition of it.
I think it's dulcet, but we'll see. But anyway, I have a new microphone, but we just a warning on the recording, like we are getting some thunderstorms coming through on both the North Shore and the South Shore of Massachusetts. So hopefully we don't have any audio issues, but we'll have this out on Friday regardless.
Yes, we will persevere despite the severe weather.
All right, Nick, are you sitting down?
I am sitting down right now.
All right.
Should I be sitting? What should I be sitting down for?
I need you to brace yourself.
Okay, I'm braced.
All right, so the New England Farmers Almanac forecast for winter is out. And the Farmer's Almanac, they are predicting a winter with lots of snow and bone-chilling cold, especially in mid-January. They're going out on a limb here. Mid-January and mid-February, they're predicting. So if you're planning for New England winter roads, snow shovels, or hot toddies, stack this forecast alongside the NOAA's or other scientific forecast and go for the best. So the Farmer's Almanac is it's not super scientific, but they are predicting a cold and snow-heavy winter ahead for New England, and it's part of a broader pattern of dramatic swings and widespread wintry weather across the nation. So
I guess we'll see. I mean, it wouldn't be the most unusual thing for mid-January and mid-February to have cold weather and snow, but we'll see. I know we've had a lot of rain on snow events, it seems like the last few Decembers, which is kind of a bummer because you got that nice coating of snow in November, December, and then it gets washed away. I do know it seemed like later in February last year, we got quite a bit of snow up in the Whites.
Yeah, for details, yeah, you're right. Like it feels like the snow really can't hold on for the extended amount of time. But for the details, it says expect frequent snowstorms and plenty of chill, mix of rain and snow along the Atlantic coast. And then a mid-January cold snap is on the menu, followed by another one in mid-February. Basically, chill, snow, repeat, which is, I don't think they're going out on a limb there because typically you do have like 2 or 3 of those super cold snaps that come through, and they're usually spread out in a couple of weeks. So,
yeah, those are the ones I always look forward to for ice fishing potential around here.
Yep.
So I don't mind the cold snaps at all, as long as it doesn't get down to like whatever we had. Was it a couple of years ago now where it like broke the ambient wind chill record on Washington, where it was just like insanely cold? Like I think it was -13 even here. That was a lot.
Right. Yeah, I think that was maybe that 2 or 3 winters ago. And they're like I do know when I started, like I think there was like 3 or 4 winters where I was really focused on the winter 4,000 footers, but it was before that, so it would have been like 5 or 6 winters ago. Me and Stomp did like a couple of these super crazy cold weather hikes where it was, I think, -25, -30 wind chill. And we went up on like Flume and Liberty and then I went up on Jackson one time as well. That was crazy cold.
Yeah, that's not fun. I think my coldest hike today was still this past year doing Carter Dome. I think the wind chill was around, so it was somewhere in that ballpark, like -25, -30. It takes some of the fun out of hiking. I mean, I know people, you can go out on that and you can have the gear and stuff, but when you're like, I need to keep moving or I'm going to freeze, just take something out of it, I think.
Right. Yeah. Isolation had a little bit of that vibe this winter. That was a cold one.
That's true. That's true. I kind of forgot about that till just now. Yeah. We only lasted up there for maybe a couple minutes. I think I remember at one point you were like, how cold do you think it is? And I'm like, I don't think it doesn't matter
it's
anymore.
Time to go. It's time to go. Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. I didn't do the show opening, so I'm going to do this live here. I didn't write it up. I forgot. I was worried about the weather here.
See your improv skills.
Yeah. So welcome to episode 205 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we are joined by friend of the show, Christy Rafferty. So Christy is from Bristol Peak Rustics. She's an avid hiker in the White Mountains. She is part of Lakes Region Search and Rescue, and she's got a really cool Etsy store. And it's also a physical store, right, Nick?
So she has a section in New Hampshire Gifts that's in Guilford, New Hampshire. So she has like kind of a section where you can find some of her stuff, but her full catalog is in display on Etsy.
Right, yeah. And matter of fact, I just ordered a Welcome to the White Mountains trail sign from her, so I'm excited. So they have like replica signs. They have all kinds of cool stuff. So we're going to talk to her, get a little bit of background. She hikes with Kim and Littlefoot and that crew as well. Mm-hmm. So super well-connected hiker, and we're looking forward to that. And we definitely want people to check out Bristol Peak Rustics and then go in. Yeah, you can go meet a New Hampshire hiker. Taylor says,
Yes, you can.
Excellent. So we have that, and then we've got a whole list of topics here. So we've got hiking is canceled in Canada. So we're going to talk about this. Nova Scotia is, I guess you cannot hike there because of wildfire. Then Stomp is always in the background here. He is looking out for us. So he had put together a little segment here that we're going to cover about Nalgene and BPA and all the risks around that. And then why is testosterone crashing in men? So we'll talk about that. Then we've got Andrew Drummond. He had broken the Derritisima fastest known time. So we'll talk about that. We got some national stories here. A beer has a jar stuck in its head. President, we're going to do politics here. President JD Vance, vice president, he had a river raised for his kayak trip. Oh no. There's a body of a missing man discovered perfectly preserved in Pakistan. And then there was a deceased hiker found where AI spots a helmet. And then we got another eclipse on the way. We've got some gear stuff we're going to talk about. Again, Stomp is busy, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's been busy this week.
He pulled this video.
Busy bee.
You're going to need to do this segment, Nick, because it's like he pulled this segment about this guy that's a caver.
Oh my God, I watched it.
I cannot watch it. I can't even talk about it. I'm going to have to put myself on.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and then we've got a music. We got feedback that some people don't like the music minute. Other people like the music minute. We got another music minute here.
We're gonna move it.
Yeah, we moved it around, and Nick's doing a deep cut on me. So Burnt Meadow Mountain. I hiked Burnt Meadow this week, and then Nick did Wachusett with the super hiker Rylan. So she crushed it there, and then he's got plans to do a Pemi Loop. I've got plans to do the Baldface Circle. So we'll talk about that. We got notable hikes of the week. And then we've got a couple of history stories here. We're going to talk about Patric McCarthy. This was a search and rescue event that unfortunately ended in the fatality of a 10-year-old boy on Wheelback Mountain. We've talked about this one before, so we'll go back and look at that. There's an interesting sidebar on that story of another fatality that happened for a couple of people that were involved that were looking for this young man or planned to look for this young man. We'll talk about a large fire in the White Mountain National Forest. And then we're going to wrap up with search and rescue news. And then we're going to do a little segment on Brutus, the dog, who is the namesake of the Brutus bushwhacks. Nick, we're going to be here for 3 hours tonight.
I enjoyed the synopsis for your book report, Mike.
Jesus
that was fantastic.
All right, we'll get moving. We are going to fly through this stuff, though. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get started.
Let's get started!
So before we get started, here's a quick word from our friend Christina with Wild Raven Endurance Coaching.
Hi, I'm Christina from Wild Raven Endurance Coaching. I work with athletes of all levels, from hikers to triathletes, helping you reach your goals with personalized guidance. With years of experience hiking, mountain biking, and trail running across New England, I also have a deep knowledge of the New Hampshire 4,000 footers and the surrounding trails. Whether you're a beginner hiker or a seasoned athlete, I'll guide you towards your goals, reducing injury risk and improving your performance through smart, tailored coaching. Are you looking to transition from hiking to mountain running? I'm here to make that journey easier too. My approach combines strength training, mindfulness, and life balance on and off the trail. Let me help you find more joy in your sport while getting stronger and healthier along the way. Visit www.coaching.christinafolsick.com and start your adventure today.
Do you want a drink of water after that? You good?
I got my beer here. So yeah. So all right. So Nick, we'll do the Canada thing in a minute. But do you consider yourself above average testosterone, or below average testosterone? How do you rate yourself when it comes to your manliness?
I mean, I think I'm probably average. I don't think I'm a pretty hairy guy, so I don't know if that equates to anything. I don't think it actually does. I think I read somewhere too, if you have a higher testosterone, I think there's greater odds that you have male pattern baldness and things like that. So I don't really know. I think I'm average along it.
Well, then, given my hair situation, I am extremely above average testosterone.
Yes, you're very manly, Mike.
Like 125% above average. So, So anyway, Stomp had pulled this article, and I had no idea about this. I feel like I've read this before, but did you know, Nick, that the overall, this is not a conspiracy theory or anything. This is actually legit. I did some research on this myself because I didn't believe this for 1 second when I first read it. But men are, on average, their testosterone levels have reduced by like, I don't know, they don't know the exact percentage. They can't do that. But like there's some people that say it's like up to 20% overall, meaning that like those of us that are older, Nick, in the 80s had a lot of testosterone, and then you young people don't have much.
So, yeah, your manliness was more than ours, I suppose.
Right. It checks out to me. I mean, just of my own observations. But anyway, one of the things that could potentially be in play here is a chemical it's called BPA, which I forget what it's called here. What is the chemical name on this?
Let's see.
I had it somewhere here. But
I know.
Anyway.
I thought I saw it.
Yeah, you do.
It's polycarbonate plastic,
something like that. Yeah, you do the research on that. But basically, BPA can mimic or interfere with hormones, especially estrogen in men. That interference can disrupt the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, the chain of signals that tells your body to make testosterone. So BPA containing plastics and things like that, exposure can contribute, along with other environmental factors, a lower testosterone level in men. So you'll hear a lot of people that will say like BPN free and all this other stuff. So I just wanted to clear the air. Like the Nalgene bottles that we use since 2009, they no longer contain BPA in them. So they are safe to drink, because that's kind of a myth that goes around as people like, well, I can't drink Nalgene because they have BPA in them. Now they use this compound called tritan, which is a rugged, lightweight copolyester that doesn't use bisphenol compounds like BPA or BPS. So bisphenol, I guess, is the
it's bisphenol, or it's bisphenol A is basically the short. That's what it's actually called, or BPA abbreviated.
Right. So according to the internet, tritan, which is the what Nalgene uses, undergoes rigorous third-party lab testing to ensure safety. It's impact resistant and durable. And then they said that it contains some of them contain 50% certified recycled content, helping reduce landfill waste and emissions. So I guess that's the big thing, is keep an eye out for anything, like Google it, do AI, whatever you need to do, check it out. If you have any plastic stuff that you're using, just double check and make sure that it doesn't have BPA in it, or you'll end up with below average testosterone like Nick.
So what blew me away a little bit on this, and shout out to Stomp again for putting a lot of this together, but it actually is contained in a lot of, so it's used in manufacturing pretty much of plastics and in certain resins and things, but it's actually in some synthetic clothing like you wear. Like I was curious looking up, I have some like Hurley Under Armour running shirts, and I didn't look specifically at my shirt, but there are manufactured Under Armour shirts that Hurley makes that contain BPA. So right there, it's in synthetic clothing. I believe sports bras was a big thing too that was linked in here. There's certain things. It's not. We're talking about testosterone crashing in men, but BPA in general isn't great against the human body. I think in California they recognize it as sort of a cancer-causing thing. So it's not great for anybody to be consuming it, or I guess I don't know what you call it, against your body, absorbing it really into sort of your own body. It's just not really a good thing.
Yeah, I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah,
I'm just going along life, Nick, just not knowing that I'm poisoning myself.
Yeah, it was interesting. I remember this came up when we were at our Zealand overnight with our friend James, brought up the BPA thing in Nalgene bottles, and I believe boiling them too is kind of one of the things that would make them release BPA. It. Yeah, but yeah, it's used in manufacturing. Kind of these polycarbonate plastics and stuff. So
yeah, I'll have to double check with James again. We have him on at some point, and he can share a little bit of his knowledge. He's got an interesting guy. He's got a good background, so maybe we'll have him on to talk about various topics.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great idea.
All right, Nick, have you ever hiked in Canada?
I have not hiked in Canada. I have yet to go to Canada. Do
you have any plans to hike in Canada in the next month or so?
No, I do not. But
all right, well, that's good, because it's not happening. So this is a story. A bunch of people sent this to me, and I don't know, Nick. Like, I can't deal with these stories, because I'll go on and I'll like read these stories, and my initial reaction to this was like, this is BS, and this is like way oversight. then I start reading all the stuff and they're like, oh, this is totally normal. This is how we do things in Canada. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe that's the way they do. Then I go on and I'm reading like other stuff. So I can't keep track of whether this is good or bad, but essentially the Canada has all these different provinces. And I think originally it was Nova Scotia, but I believe now maybe they've opened it. They've actually declared this in like 2 or 3 other provinces. But essentially what they've done is closed all hiking trails, and then they've limited outdoor activities. I guess you can still camp, but in official campgrounds. But there's hiking, camping, fishing, and use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. Absolutely no fun, Nick. There's no fun allowed in the mountains. And the reason they're doing this is because they are concerned about wildfire because it's been very dry in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting thing to me about this is that, and I was doing a little bit of my own research, but while it has been an overwhelmingly high year for Canadian wildfires, the primary cause climate change is a thing, obviously, but a lot of them are caused by lightning strikes. They're not caused by humans. In error, like I don't know if there was a particular incident in Nova Scotia, like Mike said, there's a whole bunch of information on this online, but that to me was kind of a weird thing to be like, well, maybe they think they can prevent it from that front, and to draw like a slight analogy with how I feel about it, it kind of blew my mind. Someone told me, I didn't realize, it didn't blow my mind, it wasn't that fascinating, but like Massachusetts, for instance, is the only state in the United States you can't buy fireworks, basically. So I kind of see it as this thing of like, if someone was hiking and didn't put out a fire, then we're just going to stop everybody from hiking. It's a similar mentality of like, oh, someone was irresponsible with fireworks, so nobody can buy fireworks. It's kind of this thing of like, I don't know if it really fixes a problem, and to some degree, I think it probably makes people want to get out there and hike more based on some of the Twitter posts we were seeing from
it's
Canada.
Like what do they call that? Like the Streisand effect. Like no one was paying attention to it, but like to me, it's like more like it's like there's only so many of these like pyro type people, but like you start advertising about how big of a risk there is for forest fires, you're going to attract some of these. I know in California, like there was all these videos of like random mentally ill people setting fires in the mountains and stuff. So, I mean, maybe you attract people that are more likely to set fires by doing this, but I do think it's a little bit of like the likelihood of a hiker triggering a fire is a lot lower than it is than a lightning strike. So, and I know there's no way to ban, but I also noticed, Nick, like they don't ban cigarettes, they don't ban matches, they don't ban vapes. No. They never ban light, they don't ban anything that actually is tied directly to, they just ban the fun stuff. So I don't know. I'm not a fan, but it did get me thinking about this, Nick. If for some reason the White Mountains had to be banned because of this, like they just decided like there's too much risk for forest fire, and then you had to sneak in to violate. So they said it's like a $25,000 Canadian fine. So if you had to sneak in and risk a fine to hike in some part of the White Mountains, where would you? I would probably. I have some ideas, but where would you go sneak in?
I'd probably find someone that I know that lives in the White Mountains to park and sneak in from there.
Okay.
I don't have any more comments than that, but I think also that would be total anarchy. Can you imagine if they did that in the Whites? Like, it would be ridiculousness.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some of our Canadian listeners can like chime in on this and give.
I'm curious.
I do feel like Canadians are like more agreeable people and more willing to kind of go along. Especially think after COVID, God. Like a lot of like I know a lot of people that are like I went along with it in COVID and now I'm done. So I think I would probably like do my sneaking somewhere around Evans Notch or the Wild River or something like that.
Yeah, that's a surefire way. To me, in practicality too, like again, I'd be curious to anybody that's up in Canada and dealing with sort of these bans, but like the practicality to go around and find everybody that's hiking in a state that in really a country that's just massive and a lot of it's unpopulated, it just seems completely unfeasible. It's kind of like an empty threat in my mind. I don't know.
They did post a snitch line though, so you can snitch on your neighbors, which is good.
That's a whole other thing. I feel like.
Yeah. I would just do that I would be like, Dave, let's me and you go out, and then I would not show up and I would just call and snitch on him.
Like, my friend Dave is in the woods.
Yes, and you know what he's doing in there.
He's defecating everywhere.
Yes. Anyway, so good. Our condolences to the Canadian people. Come down. I know you like to take up the Randolph Mountain Club huts when I like to go there, and I end up having to hike back out because you're taking up all the spots. So come on down and enjoy the White Mountains.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, hopefully the wildfire season tends to let up, because not just us, but the entire country, I think, to a degree, is experiencing wildfire smoke if you're east of like basically Western Canada, the way the jet streams have flown and stuff. So we had it down here for 3 or 4 days last week even. So
right. Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. So good. Hopefully they'll just get there's hurricanes coming in. Maybe they'll get hit with a hurricane in Canada.
Yeah. I'll dye some stuff out for them.
Yes, exactly. All right. The next thing here. So we have breaking news. Oh, this isn't really breaking news, but Andrew Drummond. So Andrew's been on the SLASRPodcast before. He is a prolific speed demon hiker. So he set the record for completing all 48 4,000 foot peaks in a single hike. This is called the White Mountain Derritisima. Is that the right pronunciation, Nick?
Yeah, Derritisima, I think. And just worth mentioning too, this was unsupported time as well. So he did all this stuff himself. He didn't have anybody helping him with gear or any like that, stashing food, helping him on trail. He did it all by himself.
Very impressive. Yeah. So Andrew is a Mount Washington Valley native. He is the owner of White Mountain Ski Co., and he's an endurance runner. I think I'll put the link to the show that he did with us. I don't know the number, but he completed this like 231 miles, and he did it in 4 days, 22 hours and 43 minutes, blowing away the previous record of 5 days, 13 hours and 5 minutes. So yeah, he beat this thing by 15 hours. So formerly held by Will Peterson, who was another legendary speed demon of the White Mountains.
Yeah, it's just beasts. I know we kind of mentioned it a couple episodes back, or maybe even just last episode. But this article does a great job sort of outlining some of his strategy and stuff, and we'll throw it in the show notes as always. But congrats again. It's unbelievable, frankly. It's quite a physical feat.
Yeah.
And mental.
Exactly. And I think my recollection is, so Andrew, he gave it a try last year. It didn't work out for him. So he really
made it like halfway and bailed.
Yeah. So he just basically he locked himself down, did a 12-week training plan. And then, you can never pick a perfect weather window, but I think that he hit it pretty well. And, it was probably a little bit hotter than he wanted, but that's just the way it is. But he banged it out. So, and he said he lost about 5% of his body weight. So,
wow. And I'm sure he's very lean and fit already. So that's probably quite a bit.
Right. Yeah. So, and he did it south to north. So he ended in Kilkenny range. So, that's a brutal way to finish, going through the weeks and doing that route. I can attest to that, having just come back.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Andrew. And then we got some national stuff here. Nick, do you want to do any of these? I haven't done a lot of research, but if you want to take this first one, that'd be great.
Sure. So Stomp had linked this video, but it was actually the Wisconsin family that was going out to their cabin, and a bear was roaming around and it had a plastic jug stuck on its head. So kudos to the family for reaching out to the local sort of fish and game. And basically they came over and it looked like they tranquilized the bear, and they actually cut the plastic jar off its head. So this poor thing was running around with it, was probably just rummaging through trash or something, and ended up getting this. It kind of looks like almost like you see those big sort of plastic jug things, like they have like giant things of pretzels or cheese balls or things like that. And it was exactly kind of, I don't know if it's like a 2-gallon jug or something like that, but yeah, it had it stuck on it. The family I guess the dad was kind of composed enough to be like, hey, like we need to call and get this figured out. So a happy ending for the bear over in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I see those. I've seen multiple like versions of bears with like different things stuck on their heads, and there's always a good Samaritan that's willing to go in there and get it done. This guy dad looks like a real outdoorsy type of guy, and looks like he's got 3 daughters, and they're all just really proud of their crazy dad.
I always enjoy the Wisconsin Midwestern accents as well. There's a lot of contrast compared to us over here in the Northeast.
Yeah. What is it like? Why don't you?
Yeah, like yeah. Something like that. I don't want to get mocked for doing it incorrectly.
I tried. So there's a movie. There's that movie where the guy gets chopped up in the.
Is it Fargo?
Fargo. Yeah. Isn't that the one where they put him in the wood cut? Yeah. the wood splitter or whatever.
I believe so. Yes.
All right. We're gonna do a little politics here, but we're not gonna. We don't do politics too much. But this is kind of a funny story. So
politics adjacent.
Yeah. So everybody is. I won't get into it. But anyway, JD Vance, he is the vice president. So he's kind of a big deal. So he's a vice president, and then he travels around with all these Secret Service guys. I had a friend that was in the Secret Service, so he was always traveling around. But the Secret Service, apparently he was going kayak. Look, we go on the Saco River. Can you raise the river level of the Saco? Is that a thing, or the Pemi?
I mean, it depends where if you flow in from. I don't know if there must be a dam somewhere or like a lock where they can control that to some degree. I mean, I don't know if there's one like in North Conway or anywhere like that, or further when you go into Maine. Those locks that you go through every year, that's not related to the Saco, right? That's between two lakes or whatever.
That's the Songo River. Okay. It's like just a landlocked lakes. But anyway, he was on the Little Miami River. So apparently the Secret Service were there, and they requested that they increase the water flow for the Little Miami River, which raises the river up, because the Secret Service wanted to be able to, deploy watercraft so that they would have like gas powered or electric powered watercraft so that they could keep an eye on him. I don't know why the Secret Service wouldn't have just gotten one of those blow up whitewater things and just gone in there with him, but maybe he just wanted to do his kayaking with his family or friends or whatever. So, anyway, I guess there's a lake that they had to like drop down a little bit, and environmentalists were outraged over this. Yes. It was quoted Richard Painter, who served as chief White House ethics lawyer under President Bush, said that it's outrageous for the Army Corps of Engineers to spend taxpayer money to increase water flow on a river, so the VP can go canoeing when budget cuts to the National Park Service have already severely impacted family vacations for everybody else. So that's as close as we'll get to any comments on this situation. But yeah, they raised the water level for him, so he was able to go safely. Wow. I don't know. Do you have that kind of pull around here, Mike? You think you could get someone to raise a river now? I don't know why I would
become the voice of the whites.
I'm trying to think of like I guess one time me and Stomp went and we floated on the Pemi, and there was one section that was like maybe a couple 100 feet that we couldn't float, and we had to stand up and watch. And I was outraged about that. I wanted to speak to the manager of the Pemi, so maybe in the future. But I just feel like you got to go if you need the water level high, just go in the river in the spring, and you're in better shape. But I will say the only time I've ever experienced, I do remember when I was in North Adams, the Deerfield River. It was like Tuesdays and Friday, because we would go on like Friday afternoon after class. There was like a certain window of time where they would open the dam on the Deerfield River on the other side of the Berkshires, not on the North Adams side, but going into the Hoosick Valley side maybe. And that would open it up, and then there'd be a little bit of whitewater, and we would go. There was like professional whitewater kayaker guys, but we were on our like tubes in with our beers, and we would go through the whitewater, and they would just shake their heads at us and say, "Sounds like a search and rescue is going to happen." So. Anyway. You have so many. Every time I've heard all your college stories, there's always a new one that crops up. Yeah, there is. But yeah, the Deerfield River. So I don't know. Last I remembered, it was like Tuesdays and Fridays they would open up the dam. So, but I didn't have any Secret Service helping me out. Yeah. All right. Moving on. So this was an interesting. I was gonna say this was a pretty interesting one that Stomp threw in here. Body of missing father found perfectly intact inside glacier in Pakistan 28 years after he disappeared. So that's pretty wild. The body of a father who disappeared 28 years ago during a trip to a remote area of Pakistan to escape a volatile family feud was found perfectly intact inside a glacier last Friday. So it said that they were able to basically identify him because he had an undamaged identification card, found on his corpse after it was excavated from the glacier. So they were saying that it was pretty unbelievable when they found him. Everything was intact. The clothes that he was wearing weren't even torn. They weren't degraded in any sort of way. And it said that the police were able to use his ID to link the body to a married father of two who disappeared in the mountainous Khoistan region in June of 1997. So authorities presumed that the man had slid through a crack and fallen into the iceberg while taking shelter in a cave during a heavy storm. So it's fine. I guess, Pakistan is very mountainous now that I'm thinking about it. It's not something I think my brain went to desert, but it's got some huge mountains as well as Afghanistan. Yeah, they have huge mountains. Yeah, it looks like he was like escaping. There was a family feud going on, so him and his brother got on horseback, and then somehow he found himself in a oxygen deprived glacier, perfectly preserved.
Yeah, they were saying that the level of oxygen inside the glacier combined with the extreme cold and low humidity created perfect conditions to practically mummify his body and protect it from the elements. So I guess if you want to try to perfectly preserve yourself, a glacier with low oxygen in a very cold, dry place is where you want to go.
Right. Yeah, it was a local shepherd who found his. I feel like oftentimes, like there should be a lot of hunters and shepherds around, because I do feel like oftentimes when these stories come out, it's like a sheep goes wandering off and finds himself in trouble, and then the shepherd will go to some place that no one's ever gone for a long time and find something. So I do feel like shepherds, we should have more shepherds, because they'll find stuff that's gone missing.
we would have found more by now if we had shepherds in the whites.
We need more shepherds in New Hampshire to look for these people. So just send the goats or the sheep or whatever they is it a goat or a sheep that shepherds take care of?
I believe sheep would be shepherd. Though I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're a shepherd if you have other animals. Regardless, like, can you be a goat shepherd or a cow shepherd? I don't know if they're still shepherds.
My friend owns a. My friend owns a goat farm. I'll ask him like if there's a name for somebody that's the same thing as a shepherd but only focuses on goats. I don't know. We'll see.
Find out.
I'll report back.
Good stuff.
So, all right. Then this next one here. So Zara, our friend Zara, listener to the show. In fact, we're going to have Zara on the show coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got to edit that one. But she sent this in. So a hiker was missing for nearly a year. Then an AI system spotted his helmet. I feel like we might have done a similar story to this. But essentially, this technology, it's drone technology. And they basically just do this photographic scan of an area, and then they'll use AI in order to find telltale signs. Mostly it's like color-based. They'll find colors that don't belong in the area, and then they can pinpoint something. So they were able to use this technology to recover the body of a 64-year-old doctor that was missing in... Where were they missing in this article here? Montevideo. I don't know what country this is. It doesn't say.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting. Yeah, this is a Wired magazine editor. They have to put the country that this is in here. But anyway, it's a 64-year-old person. But this technology is starting to get even better over time, and it's kind of cool. But unfortunately, in the White Mountains,
in Italy.
Okay. Got it. Unfortunately, the White Mountains is difficult. Yep. Like it seems to work a lot better in these like above tree line or open mountain ranges, whereas in the White Mountains, there's a lot of trees hiding people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I feel like if you're above tree line, for sure, like I could see it being used like to compare. They mentioned that it compared the pixels basically of sort of the surrounding area to what it would expect to see. And that's kind of how they identified the helmet. But yeah, I feel like in the whites, like if you're below tree cover, like it kind of is a moot point because you're not really going to be able to see what's on the ground that well anyways.
Right. So excellent. All right, this next one here, Nick, are you ready for the eclipse of the century?
I suppose so. I thought we already had a pretty good eclipse. Was that last year we had the big eclipse?
That's what I thought, that was the eclipse of the century. But apparently there's another one coming up, which is going to be hitting on August 2nd, 2027. And this one is predicted to be like over 6 minutes long. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see this one as impressively. So this one is only going to be, I guess you can see it in parts of Maine on that day, but it's mostly going to be like Morocco, Luxor, Egypt, and the Middle East is where it's going to be a better view. So make some travel plans.
Are you ready for Slasher's Gear Review?
All right, so then there's a couple of gear items here. Do you know anything about these ones, Nick?
So this one looked really cool as a truck owner. This company, I don't know, I believe it's called Joy Tutus or Joy Tutus.
Yes.
If you want to say it more in a more fun way. But yeah, they among a bunch of different things they had sort of for camping and stuff. They had this really cool sort of drop in your truck bed tent. And it looked like they're actually pretty affordable. They're like around $200 they kind of start up. So if you have kind of the open bed of your truck, it actually sort of pins more or less to the rails on either side. You open up your sort of bed there and you have a place to sleep for night. So, and I thought too that the price really seemed very reasonable. They have like a 6.5 foot bed tent for like $200. I was going to say, have you ever seen sort of the people, they have these tents too that like go on the top of Jeeps. I've definitely seen those before, like parked around like the Adirondacks and stuff where people kind of sleep on top of their Jeep and the tent kind of goes up there on the roof rack and stuff.
Very expensive, I've seen.
Yes. These ones, yeah. So the one they sell is $1,700 by comparison, but the one for the back of your truck seems pretty.
Yeah, reasonable. I wonder what the quality is, but I mean, I would give it a shot for $200 for sure.
Yeah, it's not bad, and they have all sorts of accessories for your car here and whatnot.
Yeah,
so cool stuff.
Yeah, we'll link this in the show notes, and give it a try. You know, sometimes you'd be surprised. Like the less expensive stuff can be pretty good too. And then Stomp he's been pushing this out to us. I'll have to see if I can find the iPhone version of this, but Stomp has been using the ADS-B unfiltered plane tracker. So I think he keeps an eye on this for SAR stuff, and it's pretty cool. You can zoom in on like individual planes. So nice little toy app to play with for your phone if you want to take a look at airplane traffic above you.
Yeah, I believe you mentioned he was still sort of keeping an eye on whether you could track like Blackhawks and things like that going through the whites, right?
Yeah, right. So it's pretty cool. I've played around with these apps in the past. I haven't looked at this particular one. Again, it's ADS-B unfiltered plane tracker. And I've had like various ones over the years. I also do it with cruise ships too, or shipping traffic is kind of fun to watch too.
Is there like an overwhelmingly large amount of ships compared to what you would expect going across the ocean at any time?
It's shocking the number of vessels that you'll see. Even just like cruise ships. Like you can filter on different types of ships, container ships, cruise ships, just personal ships or whatever. And it's shocking how much traffic there is.
I'll have to go down that rabbit hole someday.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. Ba-dum-bum.
Time for a dad joke, Nick. I haven't done a dad joke in a while.
I know. I'm excited. I feel like we've been on a dry spell for the dad jokes. What do we got?
Right. So I grilled a chicken for 2 hours yesterday, but it still won't tell me why it crossed the road.
I was hoping to be one that I could guess.
Okay, I can try.
We have another one?
Why don't cats like internet shopping? Because they prefer catalogs.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So
that's pretty good.
Hey, what's that sound? It must be time for the pop culture segment with Mike and Stomp.
All right, this next one, I don't want to spend much time on this, Nick, but why don't you just cover it? So this is under pop culture, but I think that this is really under just the trigger warning for claustrophobia, I think, is what we should be doing in this one.
Yeah, so we've covered, I believe Magnus was also doing sort of the straight line challenge. I think he did it back in Norway. We sort of covered that a few episodes back. But this guy, Magnus Matibo, I'm probably saying that wrong, has a YouTube channel, and Stomp linked this video, and like it's funny, it literally has the title is "The Worst Claustrophobic Cave I've Ever Seen," trigger warning. And yeah, I would fully be honest with you, if you have something about claustrophobia in sort of tiny little spaces, this isn't a video that you want to watch. It was pretty wild. It basically follows this dude Magnus and his buddies, and they're out doing Petty John's Cave in Georgia. And man, oh man, does this cave get skinny in parts. Like if you could imagine like a lemon squeezer or something at the polar caves, like imagine if it was like just an entire wall that could fit your body, and it was like, I don't know, 10 inches wide. Maybe, like, it's insane. Like, and he's in this cave for like a while, and there's a camera guy shooting him, and yeah, it's like almost anxiety inducing, frankly, watching it. It's just, man, nightmare fuel.
Yeah. I can't watch these. I mean, I've seen a couple of them, and I've seen, like, in the past, there's been a couple of these where people just get stuck and they can't get out, and it's just like, it's nightmare fuel for me. I just can't. The claustrophobia just is off the charts. So moving on, but we will put this on the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is time for Nick's Music Minute here. So he's going with a deep cut because I've never heard of these people. So let's hear what you got, Nick.
Yeah, I'm going with a deep cut this week. Well, maybe not deep cut. It's a newer cut, I suppose. I don't know how popular they actually are. But yeah, the album's Tomorrow's Fire by the band Squirrel Flower. So how's that for a name? Came out in 2023. So this is the fourth full-length album by the American indie rock musician Squirrel Flower. And I came about them by listening to them on a artist similar to Slow Pulp station on Apple Music when I was down with Ash this weekend in Jamestown. So we're heading down, we're having a little date night, and was just trying to find some new music to listen to. Worked out pretty well. Squirrel Flower is the stage name of Arlington, Massachusetts. So we have a native here. Arlington, Massachusetts-born artist Ella O'Connor Williams, and she gave herself the nickname as a kid, and apparently it stuck, and I think it's a pretty good band name. It's memorable. I didn't have to write it down or anything. I remembered Squirrel Flower.
Oh, wait, it's one person? It's not a band?
So it is a band, but so she's had mostly acoustic solo albums up to this came out. She had a drummer and sort of a bassist and stuff with it, but yeah, it was still produced under the name Squirrel Flower, and that's her name, I guess, as an artist.
Yeah. She looks very pensive, I would say.
Yeah, it goes with the theme of this album. So this album, Tomorrow's Fire, released to mostly positive critical acclaim, with kind of credit due to Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, and Metacritic. It's her or their most outwardly rock album, and I listened to some of their back catalog, and like I just mentioned, it's mostly acoustic and vocals, which isn't a bad thing, but I just didn't really like it as much. I thought this album was much better and way more developed. The most thing that I would harken it back to, it reminded me of, have you ever listened to like Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Mike?
Yes.
Anything like that. So their album Live Rust, that 70s like rock acoustic kind of folk blend, it's got that kind of feeling going on, except newer. Really enjoy the production on this. Great dynamics. Really well recorded guitars, just good stuff overall. Contrast from sort of loud to quiet. I ended up shooting some of this to Stomp. Got the confirmation from his ears that it was produced pretty well. And I enjoyed this quote from Pitchfork about the album and sort of Squirrel Flower. So for a young musician, Williams is 27. So she's only 27 years old as of 2023, pretty young. She started recording music when she was 18. Such a sustained level of output could be exhausting in many senses of the word. It might lead to burnout or empty the reserves of what she has to say, but on Williams' new record, Tomorrow's Fire, all that effort has only intensified her ambition. It's a beautiful, searing record in which Williams channels listlessness and desperation into sweltering, explosive rock songs. So that's why she looks pensive, Mike. In case you're wondering, she's serious and dramatic.
Well, I did find some photos of her smiling, so I'm happy for her. I was getting nervous for a minute.
Okay, good. My favorite tracks off this, though, I think it's a great album, and it's only like 35 minutes long, so you can kind of cruise through it pretty quickly. But Full-Time Job, Alley Light was the song I heard on the radio. I guess if you consider Apple Music the radio nowadays. This to me is the standout track. It's a really beautiful song. Almost Pulled Away, When a Plant is Dying, What Kind of Dream of This? All solid tracks. So if you're looking for something new, folky, rocky, check out Tomorrow's Fire by Squirrel Flower.
Okay, I will check it out. I'll put it in the Spotify, and then next week can we find an artist that we like all know and can talk about?
I'll bring it back to the 90s for you next week, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, get your free stickers at Ski Fanatics or Spinner's Pizza Parlor in Andover, Mass. If you're interested in advertising with Slasher, we are open for business. Go ahead and hit us up. And then if you're interested in Slasher swag, it's going to get cold soon enough, and now is the time for you to choose between our super popular hoodies, classic or V-neck t-shirts, and then even more stuff. The color selection is great. Mrs. Stomp picked it out herself, and they are priced to move, so help spread the word about Slasher and Represent Today. Check out our Bonfire shop. And then if you are interested in doing a donation, you can hit us up on Slasher's Buy Me a Coffee. Donations help us pay for web hosting, distribution, and live events. And like I seem to be constantly getting a new microphone every month or two, so that seems to be what we're spending our money on. So I appreciate that. And then I also want to give a shout out to Ed Watson, who sent us a coffee.
Senator Ed Watson.
Yeah,
Senator Ed Watson.
I guess the senators, you can like do a repeated monthly coffee for us, which is great. He says, great podcast. Keep up the good work. So
thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking on this week's Beer Talk.
And then now is the part of the show where we talk about what beer we are drinking, Nick. So I am drinking a Cloud Candy, which is a New England IPA by Night Squirrel Brewing Company. Straight out of Trader Joe's. Mrs. Mike got this for me.
Excellent. That's a good brew. I've bought that before down here. I just have an Athletic Brewing Co. Upside Dawn Golden Ale. So usually I have the IPA, so I did switch that up, but I'm just taking it easy tonight.
It's good. Nick is protecting his testosterone level.
Yeah, exactly.
He's protecting his testosterone level. We appreciate that.
I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken. We got no cell connection, and we can't feel our fingers. But we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
Nick, have you been out hiking recently? I feel like me and you are in a little bit of a hiking drought as of late.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a lull. Coming off that Prezi Traverse, just been hanging out and kind of doing some other fun stuff on the weekends. But I did get up to Wachusett with my daughter Rylan, who's almost 3, last weekend. And I was pretty stoked. I brought the carrier pack. This was the first time I was going to let her hike on her own 2 feet, and she did almost like 700 feet kind of intermittently. She probably did like a 500-foot stretch and then put her in close to the summit. Then she wanted to get out again. And she did really well. I'm trying to toe that line of like, I don't want to push her too much and let her like have fun. She actually really enjoyed the scrambly parts more than the flat parts. Like right. She was getting bored. And I had, and I think, I don't know, probably one of you guys recommended this to me. Not that it's like, it's kind of a common sense thing with kids of that age, but I had a big pouch full of peanut M&Ms in my hip belt. So like we kept doing peanut M&M breaks at each of the trail signs. And by the time we got to the top, I honestly don't know how many M&Ms she ate. Could be 20, could be like 60. I don't know, but she was happy. She was covered in chocolate. We had a great day. First time she didn't fall asleep on the way down either. So she was kind of in and out on the way down, and a really nice day. A little wildfire haze, but we had a bunch of fun.
Yeah. The haze thing has been going on a little bit. So, yeah. And then future plans, you got anything big coming on?
So planning on attempting a single day Pemi loop this weekend. Weather pending and everything. I'm going to go with my cousin's husband, or I just say my cousin, it's easier. My cousin Jay, who just recently did the Prezi Traverse. And then my cousin Sarah Beth and our friend Peter are supposed to hike out to the Bonds and meet us. Sarah Beth's never been out to the Bonds, so she's pretty stoked just to go out to that. And they're kind of like, I would say, tentatively working on their 48. They're keeping track of what they've got.
Right.
And Jay's already telling me to, I think he wants to get up to Galehead. And I already nixed. I'm like, I don't want to go out to North Twin. So we'll see how the day goes.
Yeah,
I just want to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of a rite of passage if you wanted to sit on the front porch and laugh at him while he goes up Galehead. That's always nice.
Oh, I might do that. I do need it for the grid, though. That's the one thing that I thought I had it for August, and it was actually like late July, so I don't know. But hopefully a fun day. The forecast a little bit warmer than I'd probably like on Saturday, but the humidity doesn't look bad. It looks sunny. Hopefully the wildfire haze, fingers crossed, toes crossed, stays away. Gonna get an early start and see how it goes.
Okay, excellent. So single day PEMI for young Nick.
How about you, Mike?
And then I got out. I've been nursing my broken finger here.
Ooh, it's unbandaged. Ooh, that's still quite swollen.
It's quite. It's not so much a pinky anymore. I don't know. It's a pokey now. I call it.
Yeah, is it supposed to look like that?
I don't think so. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's not like basically so he took the stitches out and they did an X-ray and he's like, yeah, it's the only. And he's basically just like, yeah, you got to just keep moving it. And I'm like, well, it bends like a little bit, but not all the way. Like I can't touch so he's like, you just got to keep working on it. But I'm like, I think I compressed it. I think it's like it's like a centimeter smaller than it used to be. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to compare and you're like, something's not right here. He's like, no, it's all good. It's fine.
It's also
like taken shorter than it used to be.
It's taken a hard left turn off of my hand. So I don't know.
It looks like a bit like a seasoned old elm tree or something like that. I don't know.
It's not looking good. Anyway, so I just got sick of what did I have? Like I didn't hike the weekend before. And then this weekend I had my daughter's boyfriend was up from Virginia. So we were hanging out by the beach pretty much all weekend. But then on Sunday morning, I was like, I got to get out. So I just ran out and did a quick loop of Burnt Meadow. And I got out at like 6:30 and then came back by like 9:30 or so. I got up to the top. I did the bushwhack on the slide on the backside.
Okay.
And I just basically went across the whole slide and then went to the northern part of it. So I explored like all of that slide and kind of mapped it out in my mind. And then I got up to the summit and there's no one there. And I had my camp chair. So I just hung out in the camp chair for like 45 minutes, took some pictures, relaxed, thought about life, and then headed down, got back to the beach by 9. So Burnt Meadow was fun. And then this weekend I've got a family party on Saturday, and then me and my friend Jay are going to get out to the Baldface Circle, and then I'm going to do that trail maintenance. So
awesome.
Good.
Awesome. That'll be fun. Glad your finger's on the mend. Peter actually sent a joking text today. Though I don't know, maybe he's serious. Maybe he'll hit you up. But he was like, I think I need to bring Mike's camp chair out to the bonds.
Right.
Everybody loves that chair. People must have wanted to kill you for that chair on the Kilkenny Traverse.
Oh, it's so nice. As a matter of fact, even on Owl's Head, I don't think that I would have like held it together as well over the finger if I didn't have that chair to just sit in on the summit. So
like, I know I have my chair. It's going to be okay. I know I have my chair. It's
my emotional chair. So anyway.
It's time for Slasher's Notable Hike of the Week. If you want to be considered for the Hike of the Week, simply tag Slasher on your social media post.
But that's good. Sounds like we'll have some good trip reports to do. So now we're on to notable listener hikes of the week here.
Yeah, we've got a whole slew. Though not as many as I might have expected, considering it's been like a couple weeks. I tried to run through and find the ones from the past 2 weeks, but we go.
We probably missed some, so we apologize ahead of time.
Yeah, I always apologize. Again, you can tag Slasher on your adventure on Instagram, and no guarantees to be plugged, but hopefully I try my best to see all of these and kind of give you a shout out.
Yep.
So here we go.
Let's bang them out.
Badams 1590. After some curiosity and inspiration from Slasher, checked out the Dry River Trail up to Lakes of the Clouds, and then down Jewel. Proceed to rain all day despite a forecast for only a little rain. Sounds like the presidential range.
Yes.
That's cool. It looked like they checked that out. I know you were recently in there with some of our friends doing the Dry River Wilderness.
Yep.
Our buddy Andy, who just did that awesome slides episode. Summit Snack Attack led an RMC hike over Randolph and Crescent on the Crescent Ridge Trail and Mount Crescent Trail. Wildfire haze cut the views, but not the fun and conversations. Also crossed Steve Smith from the Mountain Wanderer, which has new ownership.
Yes.
And we've actually been in contact, so maybe something cool coming out of that eventually.
Yep.
Folkstar, he's always doing cool stuff with his New England 100 highest. Bushwhacked Whitecap and Kennebago Divide. Don't know where those are, have to look them up. And a further whack to the Canadian boundary to Boundary Peak for 94 out of 100 of the New England 100 highest. So he's getting up there on those.
Very good.
They'll be finishing soon. Jude hikes the Whites. Liberty for 18 out of 48. Relentless climb and disappointing views due to wildfire haze, but good to check Liberty off. Feel that. Christian hikes the Whites. This was a big one. 5 days in the Whites. Saturday, Mount Moriah. Sunday, Mahoosic Traverse with Matty Peaks. They started on 5:30 a.m. Sunday and finished 1 a.m. on Monday. So slept most of the day Monday. Feel like that's fitting. Tuesday did the Carters. Then North Twin on Wednesday before he headed home for 60 miles and 20,000 feet of gain over 5 days. So Mahoosuc Traverse is a beast. I know it's supposed to be kind of the hardest big hike, I think, in the Whites that is a standard quote unquote route. It's one of the Northeast Ultra 8, which is also a thing. But
yeah, it's a fun one. I did it in an overnight, so I don't know if I want to do that as a single day, but yeah, Christian's a beast. So congratulations.
Yeah, and his buddy Matty Peaks. I enjoy Matty Peaks' photography. He's always getting out there. New Hampshire Mountain Goat Girl. Waterfalls around the side of Adams and the RMC trails.
She's the only smart one, is picking the nice, cool hike to enjoy all those waterfalls around Adams. Everybody else is climbing a bunch of mountains here.
Just baking themselves and getting discouraged by wildfire haze.
Right.
Our buddy Paul Lamar I was in the loop on this one, and it looked like they had a great day. Kinsman Traverse from Kinsman Notch to the Mount Kinsman Trailhead, 15 miles, 5,100 feet of gain with P-Gam Jr., Jakester, D2, Paul P. Clement 20, soupy hot weather. And this was, I don't know if Jake needed North Kinsman too, but I saw that he at least got out to 41 to 48. So really fun route. Looked like a good traverse. They hit Bald Peak on the way down. That's new 52 with a view. Yeah,
this was a great hike to get text messages about, but not be on.
Yeah, it was kind of, there was nothing that totally pissed me off, to be frank, about the views. I was like, foggy views on South Kinsman, foggy views on Bald Peak. Yeah. Okay. And you guys are sweaty and you're still coming down. Oh no. No, we're glad you had a good time, guys. That friggin' hiker, Iron Mountain in Jackson, the recently relisted 52 with a view, 4.2 miles and 914 feet. That looks like a good one. I got to check it out.
Yep.
This was a super cool one. So G's Louise Hoops, Mount Abraham with Sweezer Outdoors official, our friend Lynn, for the 100th hula hike she's done. And hula hiking can be a team sport. This had an awesome video. Lynn did a longer video. They tagged us, but they were like tandem hula hooping and stuff on the summit. And by the way, this was Abraham in Vermont. So they were out to do Abraham and Ellen, and they bailed on Ellen. But looked like a really fun day. A lot of hula hooping. Good stuff. Fit to hike 603, 50% of the grid done with a Willie Tom Field Traverse, 288 out of 576. Zach Como, Huntington Ravine up Washington, just talked about that in the slides episode. Nice shot of Lakes of the Clouds from Washington. I wanted to shout out. That was a really beautiful shot that he put up there. And then again, Andy's double dipping with the tags. He did Summit Snack and Neck, Mount Washington with Moon Hiker 5712 by the Amanusic Ravine Trail. Then rounding out here, we got E. Hansen 42. This was an adventurous one too. Atypical Adams-Madison loop. I felt like it was worth listening it out because it was just kind of wild. So they started Appalachia off Route 2. They did the link to Lowe's Pass to King Ravine, through the Subway Ice Cave Loop, up Airline, down Chamine to Dam, reascended King Ravine via the elevated route, went over Great Gully to Gulfside, up to Adams, descended Star Lake, over to Madison, and then went down Watson Path, Brookside, and Valleyway back to Appalachia. So that is a heck of a route to do those.
Boy, that's a beast.
Tired just talking about it.
Right.
And then lastly, we have Laura Ellie, who tagged us for a few different things here. So first one was Skookumchuck to Lafayette down Greenleaf with a bike path roadwalk back to the car. Then they did Jefferson via Sphinx and Six Husbands for some more T25s. And then they actually crossed our friends on this Kinsman Traverse and did a 2-night scout trip to the Kinsmans. So yeah, they met Jake and crew and chatted there. I guess she had a slasher patch, and I think Jake or somebody noticed it. And then she was out and did an overnight at Zealand Hut and a quick trip to Thoreau Falls, which I've heard is beautiful, but I've never been out there. Have you ever gotten out to Thoreau Falls, Mike?
No, I haven't been out there. I got to get on that east side trail and then get into that backside area there, but I have not done that.
All right. So who? I know sometimes we do multiple people because we don't want to upset people.
Right. Yeah. So
there were no dogs this week. I wanted to apologize. I did not see any dogs. So everybody has chance. It's a fair game this week.
Right. Yeah. So G's Louise and Lynn, I think we'll give them because it's her 100th hula hoop hike. So that's a good one. And I'd say fit to hike 603. You're halfway through your grid. So I want to give you some inspiration to keep going because you got another 200 and 88 hikes or something like that left to go. So keep at it.
All right, and there was much rejoicing.
Hooray. All right, so now we're going to rejoice. We're going to go into a segment. We're going to talk to our friend Christy Rafferty from Bristol Peak Rustics, and Nick got a chance to sit down with her, so we'll find out all about what's going on there and then come out the other side.
All right, let's do it.
It's time for Slasher's Guest of the Week. Very cool, very cool.
All right, so this week we're joined by Christy Rafferty. Christy is an owner and operator of Bristol Peak Rustics. I know you're also involved with Lakes Region SAR. Get a lot of different stuff going on hiking with the Littlefoot crew. I know I see you a lot on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Christy. And do you want to introduce yourself for the listeners?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. My name is Christy Rafferty. I'm the creator and owner of Bristol Peak Rustics. I'm an avid hiker. I've been a member on Lakes Region Search and Rescue for 3 years and recently became part of our dispatch team. I've also been married to my super supportive husband, Bob, for 27 years, and I have 2 grown kids, Caitlin and BJ.
Awesome. That's good stuff. So I guess we can start. What got you sort of into it? And it feels like, too, to say that you just hike is one thing, like obviously between the Lakes Region STAR stuff. And then I know you actually brought up before we came on, and I can't believe I forgot, but like the Rescue Me 5K, like you're really heavily involved, I'll say, like in sort of the White Mountains hiking community as a whole. But how did this all start sort of getting involved in hiking in the Whites, and where did it begin?
Well, I grew up in Guilford, right next to the Belknaps, and surprisingly, my family were not a hiking family. I could count on one hand how many times we hiked. And I just, in 2019, I decided I don't know where I saw it, but I wanted to start hiking the 4,000 footers. And so I got my husband to come with me a couple times. I think we went 3 times that year. We did Boosalok and the Osceolas. And then 2020 hit. So COVID, we did absolutely nothing that year. 21, I wanted to get back out. He is less enthused to hike than I am. I have more of a love for hiking than he does. And so getting him to go was a little difficult. And so I realized I was just going to have to like step out of my comfort zone and just solo it. I knew nobody when I first started hiking. I just had to research and try and figure things out. I made the mistake of doing an out and back of Zealand. That was rough.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's
of the
not
bonds.
unusual. That's not always the usual thing. Yeah.
No, that took a while. And I started hiking pretty regularly for, 21, 22, and I finished my 48 in the fall of 22. And then after that, I noticed the 52 with a view list. So I started doing that and finished that in September of 23, the following year. Okay. And then right now, I've got so many friends that are working on their grid that I'm like just working on my grid with them. Yeah. So I'm so low in the numbers that whatever they do just adds to my list usually. So I'm not really gridding per se, but I'm recording it. I'm keeping track.
That's awesome. That was going to be my question is, are you officially gridding or not? Because I feel like a lot of people are like reluctantly gridding sort of. Like
right.
That's like, I tell everybody I'm working on the seasonal, but then I went out and got Galehead and the twins like officially for just the grid. Yeah. Like last month. And I'm like, okay, I guess officially like I'm sort of doing this. I don't have any aspirations for timeline or anything like that, but
yeah, I really don't. Cool. I really don't either.
Yeah. No, it's cool though. I think too to see all those mountains in the different seasons and even month to month, like how much the trail conditions can vary. Certainly from winter to spring, but even like from maybe mud to dry. And there's a certain thing. I don't know quite yet if I've like submitted myself to summiting Tecumseh like an additional 7 times or whatever I have.
Right.
But that's fun.
Yeah.
So do you get out and hike with your family much at all? I know Bob hikes a little bit here and there. Or?
Bob will go out once in a while. When I my first round, my sister-in-law would hike with me once in a while. But my sister kind of goes out once in a while. My niece does. My daughter Caitlin has started going out. Not so many of the 4,000 footers. She actually just did her very first one the other day, so I was pretty proud of her about that. She did Jackson. So yeah, and I still like to solo. You still like to kind of get out and do your own thing once in a while.
Yeah, I hear that.
I do a lot with the Littlefoot team too.
So how did that relationship, I guess, materialize? And it was actually cool. I think I had crossed Kim and Littlefoot and sort of them before. I don't know if I'd crossed all of you before in the crew, but I definitely crossed at least Littlefoot before. But we were actually, Ash and I were hiking up the Flume Slide last July, and we actually crossed all you guys. And it was funny because not that you guys would have known, but Ash actually ran off trail really quick to use the restrooms. And I'm like, don't worry, there's nobody around. And then like 10 of you rolled up and I'm like, oh, it's the Littlefoot crew. And she's like, what? I was like, you might want to get a little bit further into the woods.
Yeah.
It was funny. But
yeah, I remember that. We had some good conversations about your other podcast up there.
Yeah, Puds.
Which we missed the Puds, but and we're happy that you're over here. So, but yeah, we also met you guys, not officially, but we were on that really awesome undercast day of Adams and Madison.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and Mike was there, and it was such an epic winter hike. So that was cool.
That day was ridiculous. I feel like we still keep talking about that day just because it was so like insane.
Yeah.
There was a stretch last winter, so like winter 23 to 24. I think it was in January when we went up, but there was this stretch for like a week. For whatever reason, the weather kept lining up where there was just this insane undercast in the presidential range. Mm-hmm. Like it seemed like day after day. Like I saw people posting pictures on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm like, is this all from the same day? But it seemed like it lined up like that for like 2 or 3 days.
Right.
These mild temperatures and a sea of clouds where you could literally just see like Adams, Madison in the higher northern presidential peaks and like Franconia Ridge in Washington. And that was like it. It was pretty amazing to witness. But yeah, how did you guys kind of cross with the Littlefoot crew and get involved with them?
So Kim Lesniewski is Littlefoot's grandmother, and she recently stopped being the president at Lakes Region Search and Rescue. They needed a new president. So she was the president for 6 years on the team. And that's pretty much how I met her, from becoming part of the team. And she would invite me out on hikes, and just became really good friends with her and her family. And so we're kind of, tramily now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it looks like you guys are always having a blast out there.
Yeah, we're having a great time. Yeah. And what people don't know about Scarlett is that most people probably don't know is that she has a seizure disorder, and she also has dyspraxia. And they're very vocal about talking about this. And it's a condition which makes like her movement and her coordination very difficult. So she's had to overcome huge speech challenges and balance issues. And she has made amazing strides to overcome those things. And just being in the mountains and hiking and being around supportive people have just pushed her to really overcome that and be the best that she can. And just, it's really amazing watching her progress.
Wow, that's incredible. I did not know about the dyspraxia part of that. That's pretty wild. I'm like, to say that you need coordination hiking in the Whites is probably an understatement. So that's incredible. I mean, and also, I was just at her age, the amount of stuff that she's done, and it seems like every time I've seen her, it looks like she's just having a blast out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing in her own right, being 8 years old and accomplishing stuff like that. But for her to have to push through and overcome an issue that she's had dealt with medically and everything, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a shot. I think I tagged Kim way back from that Dan Adams Madison. That's like her like heading up, I think with like Perry and like maybe a couple of you guys. And it's like going up the side of Adams, and it just kind of catches you by surprise because she's got like a rainbow sort of puffy jacket or whatever on. And like there's all adults around like in balaclavas and stuff. And you see this just small kind of figure moving up the side of Mount Adams. It was really cool to witness.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess kind of a good segue, but sort of what made you get involved with kind of Lakes Region Search and Rescue? And I don't know how much you can delve into everything in your involvement, but just curious.
Well, let's see. So in 2022, I was still, in the middle of trying to finish my 48. And I had really started, you start seeing the hiking community more, and I kind of wanted to just, I wanted to be more a part of it, or I wanted to kind of give back. And so I really wanted to sign up like the beginning of 2022, but I was super intimidated. I was very nervous about, stepping out and doing anything like that. And then in November of 22, Emily Sotelo was lost and lost her life. And so I knew that I didn't want to just like hike my own hike anymore. I wanted to, I was thinking that, if that were my daughter, I would want people to do everything they could to find her, and to be out there and searching and helping. So I figured at that point, it kind of give me that final push to, step out and sign up with SAR. So, and dedicate, some of my time to this amazing hiking community that I've found. So, beginning of 2023, I decided to go to the Becoming an Outdoors Woman Winter Survival course at the Owlbrook Hunter Education Center. And Kim happened to be there doing a hiking course. I wasn't doing that one, but I went up and introduced myself, told her that I had just signed up with SAR, and she's like, okay, great, and everything. I'll see you, hopefully at the, the training and everything. So, I made the mistake of hiking Mount Washington the day before my shakedown hike. So the afternoon that I was supposed to go do my qualification hike, I was super sore, out of shape, but I still made it on the team. So
what time of year
good.
Was
it? It was the end of March.
Okay.
So the end of March. And that was actually, I hiked it on my the 6th anniversary of my sobriety. So that was kind of a memorable thing for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I can imagine that'll might beat you up a little bit before a shakedown hike.
Yeah.
And what was the other place you mentioned where that course was at? I was just curious. I wasn't familiar with them.
Becoming an Outdoors Woman is they have all kinds of different courses like hiking or survival or shooting or
and it's in New Hampshire.
Yep, it's in I want to say Holderness.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, it's at the Owlbrook Hunter Education, and Fish and Game do a lot of stuff there. We have a lot of trainings there. So yeah.
Awesome. So after shakedown, kind of what happens kind of after that? They basically check if you're sort of on the team, and
they put you through an initial training. You have to learn how to use the litter, learn how to carry, stuff like that. And you go through that, and then you kind of just get tossed in. So you get all the information, about getting a call out, you'll get the phone call on your phone, and you show up, you get your debrief from usually a conservation officer. And then you just, sign in and head up the mountain. So it's a lot of hands-on training. Lakes Region Search and Rescue offers a lot of training every year that you're not required to take, but it's encouraged. I try and go to everything because I'm just excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, I'm glad it's not live. Right. So some of the trainings that they offer are navigation, map and compass, medical, wilderness first aid training, CPR, hypothermia training, heat stroke, avalanche training. So they give us an option of a lot of types of trainings to, expand our knowledge so that we're, have the best, equipment that we need when we're out on the trail.
That's awesome. And Lakes Region is a pretty new search and rescue team too for the area, right?
Yeah, they were formed in 2019 for recent. A need pretty much for, the lower White Mountains and the Lakes Region area. Yeah. Usually Guilford and Alton PD do a pretty good job of taking care of Mount Major area and the Belknaps and stuff. But, a bunch of the times they wouldn't have the manpower that they would need if they had to do a carry out or something like that. So, that's where they established the need for search and rescue in the Lakes Region. And we're in District 2 for Fish and Game. Okay. So we go all the way up to Jackson in the north as far as just above Concord. Oh, wow. But we'll pretty much go anywhere Fish and Game need us to go. We've backed up AVSAR and PEMI, several times, especially if they're on another call or if they need extra hands, we're usually available.
Very cool. Yeah, that was going to be my question with, because I know sometimes like it seems like you guys are up in Franconia or like all these different places so far and beyond just the lakes region itself.
Yep. Yeah. One of our busiest areas is Chicora. People are always getting her up there.
Yeah, my question was going to be, do the Belknaps get a lot of winter traffic just because there's so many people that are kind of local to that range in the winter?
Yeah, they're pretty much, busy as any other, mountain. We've got our locals. They have, their own patch. That's the BRT 12.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like their own gridding thing. So people are out there every single month trying to get their grid in. So
very neat. Yeah, I recently was pointed out. Well, someone pointed out the Belknaps to me, and they're a great little range to check out. I think we'll be taking our daughter there at some point. It seems like it's a good intermediary step, and it's a little bit closer than kind of driving up to like the Whites, I guess, formerly like kind of Franconia, Notch, Jackson, and kind of those rides. It's definitely a bit closer for us.
Yeah, it's a great little area.
So before we kind of get maybe into Bristol Peak Rustics and that whole side of the house, I did have some questions because it seems like you're getting out to like different AMC huts and doing overnights and stuff.
I've done a couple, not as many as some people, but
I've only done like one at Zealand Hut, like ever, pretty much as far as hut stays. But do you have any sort of recommendations for maybe people that are looking to do hut stays and kind of maybe some of the adventures that you've had out there and times of year and stuff?
Most of mine have been in winter when it's super cheap.
Yeah, no, understandably.
So I've done, Zealand, I've done Cutter Notch, and I honestly, it's slipped my mind. I cannot remember the other one. But Zealand, I would say don't test your equipment on just, an overnight stay, because I was freezing on Zealand. We did it in December and I had like everything I brought with me for clothes. Like I had hand warmers in my bottom of my feet. I borrowed my husband's jacket. It's a fun experience though, because you don't have any heat, obviously. I mean, people maybe don't know that, but usually the sleeping quarters do not have heat. So you are bundling in up with whatever you got. So, but it's definitely fun. It's a good time when you go with other people too.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I remember thinking too, like people were like, oh, there is like a wood stove, but then you realize that like wood stove is really just to like help keep the place dry and like prevent condensation and things like that from hikers coming in covered in snow. But
yeah, definitely. And on a really cold day, I mean, you have to be within like 4 feet of that thing to get any heat off of it. So
oh yeah, for sure. I'm not sure.
It does not heat up the room. It's not insulated. So
do you have any idea like how cold it was kind of in the bunk room when you guys were there? Because like when we had stayed, it was in January, and it was kind of like it was cold the first day, but it kind of got more moderate, I would say, into the second day we stayed there. Mm-hmm. And I think it was like I had a thermometer on my backpack, and I think it was like 22 degrees in the bunk room.
I want to say it was probably close to that because it was frigid. So
yeah, it makes it really hard to get out of your sleeping bag if you have to go use the bathroom in the middle of the night. Like
definitely.
I really had to wait till I think my bladder was like ready to explode before I got out of that thing.
Snug
as a bug in a rug.
Yeah, same.
So how is Carter Notch versus like say like Zealand, like different, similar?
Well, Carter Notch, they've got a really small main hut that you can like, try and warm up in. That's where the kitchen area is. And they've got the seating area, but the sleeping arrangements are outside of that. So you have to like go up around the backside of the hut, and there's different cabins that you can sleep in. So there's no heat whatsoever. So you pretty much warm up in the main hut and then bundle up and go jump in your sleeping bag. So
oh wow, yeah, that's definitely. I didn't realize that all the bunkhouses were detached on some of those. And
the bathroom area is a further walk too than like Zealand is a treat. I mean, you just go from one room to the next to get to your sleeping area, and the bathrooms are like attached to the building. Yeah. But with Carter Notch, everything's like kind of spread out a little bit.
Oh boy, so you really have to want to get out of your sleeping bag.
Yeah,
then. You really gotta go at that point. Cool. And were those mostly for people gridding, or just kind of you guys wanted to get it on the winter and try an overnight, or?
Probably some of both. Okay. I wasn't working on my grid, but I'm sure Kim or Scarlett was definitely working on their grid. Yeah. Usually I'll message Kim during the week and be like, what are you hiking this weekend? And she's like, all right, I need this, or this. And I'm like, all right, count me in, so.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely recommend those winter hut stays to anybody that hasn't done one before. It was definitely an experience. And I think it helps too if you go with people that kind of have done it before and know to bring clothing. My biggest mistake was that people brought like sandwiches and things like that. And I wasn't even thinking in my head. I'm like, it never went above freezing the entire time we were out. So you could bring like a sub or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. If anything, it was just going to freeze. Then I was just eating dehydrated meals while like Mike actually hiked in like a rotisserie chicken at night and stuff, like just crazy. People had like chicken parm subs and stuff, and I'm just like, I'll just eat my dehydrated pad thai over here. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I think that's
exactly what my meal was when I did Carter Nut Chai.
So next time that'd be a decision I'd make. I'm like, I'll hike in a frozen sub or something.
Right.
Kind of funny. So. Yeah, I want to get into Bristol Peak Rustics a little bit, and how did you even? I don't know wherever you want to start with that. Like starting a business, or what made you decide to do it?
Well, I've always had a creative bug. I've had little kind of crafty businesses throughout my whole life. I'll give you a little bit of my background. Sure. My family opened the very first color photo lab in the Lakes region in the 60s. Wow. So I worked there for about 15 years doing photo restoration, ad design. So I did a lot of graphic design stuff like there. Later on, I opened a business with my brother-in-law and my husband, where I designed and printed signs on a wide format printer. So they do billboard signs and stuff like that. I did vinyl lettering, logo design. If you've ever been to Fun Spot in Laconia, I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I've definitely heard of it before.
It's considered the largest arcade in the world.
Okay, that's why.
So we printed a lot of the big banners and signs that you see in there. So cool. In 2018, I actually got sober. So I got healthy, lost 20 pounds. Thank you. Awesome. Around the holidays, I was kind of, it's kind of hard for people that have dealt with addictions being around the holidays. I was looking for something like an artistic outlet, something to keep me busy, something where you don't focus on, all of the things that make a holiday fun, if you're dealing with stuff like that. So that winter, I started selling hand-painted ornaments online. So that was kind of how I started Bristol Peak Rustics. That was kind of how it was born. I was mostly just hand-painted ornaments that first year. And then it kind of grew after that. I got a laser engraving machine. I got a CNC machine. Started creating, trail signs out of my love for hiking. Tried to see, what was popular amongst hikers. What would people enjoy having on their walls. And then, so I just started doing custom signs. A lot of people request send me a picture of a cool sign that they saw when they were hiking or stuff like that. And I try and replicate it for them as best I can. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of New Hampshire and hiking themed gifts.
That's awesome. And side story too. Well, it's pertinent to this, but I actually just got a trail sign from you, literally, I don't know, a month or so ago for Airline Cutoff. And it's awesome. I highly recommend anybody, if you're looking for a trail sign, reach out to Christy, reach out to Bristol Peak Rustics, because you did an awesome job.
Thank you so much.
I think I shot you just some dimensions of it that I took on my phone while I was up there, because I forgot a tape measure to bring with me. So I'm like, oh, your phone can do this now, and a picture, and it's pretty damn near perfect from what I can tell. So that's all the fun for me, and the design and the research, and trying to figure out, I try and make it look as much as I can like the original. So it's a lot of fun to make. So all that, the CNC experience and all that, did that come from the previous business you were working at too? With
No, they're just totally separate. Just my design background and creating stuff like that. So CNC was totally new. I had to learn how to use the CNC machine. Did a lot of research and everything. I'm always trying to do research and figure out what's the best, tools to have to do what I want them to do. So. Well,
yeah, I'm not a super handy person, so I really admire people that know how to craft and build things like that. It's not something like if you were to like make a trail sign, I wouldn't know the first place to start. Right. Frankly.
Well, it's a pretty awesome piece of machinery. Because before that I was doing everything by hand, like hand routing, hand carving. And that's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time.
So like with, for example, like making a trail sign or something, like how long does that actually like take you to sort of plan it out to like, I guess from when someone's like, when I was like, hey, like I'd like to get a trail sign to like when you actually have a finished product?
It takes it's a lot quicker than it used to take me. You figure out things a lot, sooner and, trying to figure out the sizing, and I usually get a picture of something and I, measure the outline of it, and then just kind of pop it into a program. And then it's pretty much, I got to prep the wood, paint it or stain it, trim it, and then put it through the machine and just, it cuts it out. Got to paint the letters usually, finish work. And then, put a hanger on the back or something. So it can take me, I don't know, a lot of it's waiting, waiting for like the, paint to dry or something like that. So, or for the machine to just, finish going through its process. It could take like an hour and a half to cut something. So, I can usually have something done in like, a day and a half or something.
Cool. So like with a CNC machine, you kind of just basically like you get the chunk of wood and it just does the rest. Like after do you like program sort of a design into it? Like how does that actually work?
Yeah, I have a programming, a program that I use for designing it, which, depending on how much text there is or how detailed it is, that can take longer. And so then that will it'll send it over to the CNC machine, and I just, I got to load it into it, make sure everything's how it's supposed to be, and then push start. So
cool. Is there anything else that's sort of another? I imagine trail signs must be like a pretty big item for you to be making.
Yeah, the popular ones are the White Mountain National Forest sign. I have a like a NH 48 tracker board. So it's got like little puzzle pieces that you can like put in for the mountains and stuff like that. So that's a really popular one. It just, a lot of the trail signs are just super popular.
It's cool. The tracker things are really cool. Like I know I've seen little AMC books. Like I think we finished in 2019, but even since then, it seems like there's way more stuff between how big Etsy's become, and it seems like just sort of the weights in hiking in general and also tracking that stuff. Like it seems like there's so many more options, and I'm like, oh, we kind of already did them already, but it'd be nice to have like those things. Would just be cool for decoration. I feel like they're really neat.
Yeah, it's fun. They just changed the New Hampshire 52 with a view. It's, they took out some of the mountains and added some of them. So that just makes more work for me because I got to change all my stuff. So
well, you can get maybe you can charge more for like a vintage one or something like that now. Right. You're like, this is an old one before they changed it.
Yeah, discount.
So and we'll plug a link too in the show notes. But if people are looking up Bristol Peak Rustics, your online shop, what's the easiest way to find that?
Easiest way to find it, you can go to trailsignsnh.com. It's going to bring you right to my Etsy shop. And for local shopping, you can find me at New Hampshire Gifts in Guilford, New Hampshire. I've got a little section set up. They don't carry all of my products, so if you want to get a look at everything I have, it's on Etsy. You can contact me directly on Facebook or Instagram to, if you have any questions or, have any inquiries about certain signs or whatever.
Very cool. Very cool. And speaking of little sections, I did want to plug just for myself. I have a little, and I'm very thankful that you gave me a little section, but I have a little Nick Sidla photography section that's over on Bristol Peak Rustics. And I actually owe you some newer prints to get up there. I think I said something like a month ago. I'm like, I'll look through. So
definitely.
I'll be carving out some for the fall. But I know I'm on Instagram a lot posting, and people, I'm sure, probably see enough of my photos between the Slasher feed and my own. But if you are curious about getting any of them, there's some on Bristol Peak Rustics, so you can always reach out to Christy or me about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to chat or plug, Christy, before we get going? Oh, the Rescue Me 5K.
Yeah, I definitely want to plug the Lakes Region Search and Rescue Me 5K. We do it every single year. It's our biggest fundraiser for the team. The funds go to training, our dispatch system, equipment, gear. Like I said, we are nonprofit. We don't get paid to do this. So this is one of our biggest fundraisers. It is Saturday, November 8th. You can register by September 30th to get a race t-shirt. There will be a post-race party, which I think we're going to update. I think it's at the new brewery that's over in Lincoln. Forgot to mention that. It's in Lincoln, New Hampshire. And there's also a raffle afterwards. So Bristol Peak Rustics will have a bunch of raffle stuff there. So come in and put some raffle tickets in your stuff. We are still looking for sponsors and raffle items. So you can find us on Facebook if you search for Lakes Region Search and Rescue, and there'll be a link to the Rescue Me 5K.
Okay, and I wanted to attest to you. So I think Ash and I have done it. Has it been 3 years you guys have done it, or 2 years? Is it just 2 years it's been going on? I don't know if we've done every one.
I think it's been going on for at least 3 years.
Okay. I want to say, I think we've done each year, at least the past 2 years for sure. I'd have to check my photos, but it's always a really good time. You guys do a great job putting it on, frankly. I've seen the pictures too of you guys like sorting all the race shirts and all that stuff. So that looks a lot of fun. It looks like a lot of effort, but it's a really fun race. It's in front of, I'm not sure what the name of the new brewery is over there, but it's in that sort of little shopping mall in Lincoln where One Love used to be and where Bergen is. And it kind of more or less does this sort of a loop up Main Street and then through the back neighborhoods to the north. And then you kind of end up coming back down Main Street. And there's actually, it's funny too, because I was talking to some people originally, like, it's not really that hilly. And like, there's definitely a hill that goes up that backside of Main Street when you're heading like towards Loon. I don't know what some people's definite, maybe if you live in Lincoln, New Hampshire and you run those all the time and you hike in the mountains, it's not really a hill, but it's it's very much hilly compared to where I live in Rehoboth. That's for sure. But it's a really good time. I highly encourage everybody to go out and register for it and kind of go run it while you can. It sounds like by September 30th. I'm hoping you'll do a virtual option this year because
there is a virtual option. Yep.
Awesome. I'll be signing up for that since we have a baby coming out on October 25th or thereabouts. So
congrats.
So thank you very much. So I think I'll be sticking to virtual and Ash will be sticking to virtual this year. But we'll be definitely missing getting up there. It's always a good time, and it seems like everybody is also kind of all the different crews are there, and usually Mike and Stomp are there. Yeah, we have a great time.
So many familiar faces.
Yeah, and Stomp sang the national anthem last year, which he did a great job.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It always seems like it's very cold and windy also.
It's true. I don't know why. I don't know why it's in November, but it is.
Whatever. It's fine. It could be in like February or something like that, but that's always a good time. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Christy, for coming on, sharing some info about Bristol Peak Rustics. Again, if you want a trail sign or check out, there's so much cool stuff over on that website. On Etsy and her page, and you can check her section out in person over at New Hampshire Gifts in Guilford if you're over by Lake Winnipesaukee. And I want to say thank you again for your service on Lakes Region Search and Rescue. I think I speak for us here at Slasher and the listeners where we say we're very thankful for our search and rescue volunteer teams out there working in tandem with Fish and Game so well. It's really special and very cool how the whole, I want to say search and rescue, I guess ecosystem, I can't think of a great word right now, but how all Fish and Game and everybody sort of works together with the volunteer organizations to sort of make the mountains a safer place. Obviously nobody wants to end up in a search and rescue, but it's great to know that we have well-trained and very giving and admirable folks out there like you kind of helping out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. So we'll stay in touch and we'll talk to you later, Christy.
Thanks for having me. See you later.
All right, and we're back. That was a great interview with Christy. Great talking to her, catching up with her a little bit. I've actually crossed her on trail, like we mentioned in the interview, a couple times, and I've also crossed her in person at the Slasher events. Really just nice, kind person, super creative, and always out there hiking and doing great things.
Right. So, looking, hopefully people will check out all of the great products at Bristol Peak, and it was great for her to join us.
Yeah, and we've got links in the show notes for sort of everything we talked about, that from Bristol Peak Rustics to New Hampshire Gifts in Guilford to the Rescue Me 5K that's going to be coming up in November. Always a great time, so check it out.
Let's dive into some White Mountains history, shall we?
Excellent. All right. You want to do some history, Nick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I pulled a couple of things. These are all circa like 2005, 2006. So not that far in the past.
Okay.
I've been doing some playing around with ChatGPT, and like basically I've indexed all of the Appalachia journals from like the 1876 to 1919, and then I've also indexed all of the Appalachia journals from 04 to 2024 that are available on Dartmouth Commons. So basically, I've just been digging around. I've basically cataloged them into tables with different subjects. Like there's news and note stuff, there's accidents, there's all these things, and then I just highlight stuff that I think is like, oh, let me cover that on the podcast. So I got a couple of things here. So one is there was a large search and rescue effort in, I think it was 2005, for a 10-year-old boy named Patric McCarthy of Bourne, Mass. So Patrick was with his, I believe it was his father and stepmother and stepbrother. So it was a mixed family. They were at Clarebrook condominiums, which are right across from Loon Mountain. And basically Clarebrook condos are where the old Osseo Trail used to exist. So the old Osseo Trail came from the Clarebrook condos up over Wheelback Mountain and then connected with what we now think of the Osseo Trail. Once you get up past the ladders and things flatten out, you can kind of see when you go past it, like you can see there's like an abandoned trail there. So
cool.
Something happened. I think Patrick was playing with his stepbrother, and for whatever reason, like he took off. And this triggered, I think it was like a 5-day search or something. And it was like one of the largest searches of all time in the White Mountains. So they had 500 volunteers from across New England turned out to help with the search through the woods. And they checked out a bunch of different areas. And eventually, the weather was not in their favor. It was rainy, windy, nighttime temperatures in the 30s and 40s. And I think after about 5 days or so, it was a Friday afternoon, a team of highly experienced searchers found Patrick's body in a thick growth area at an elevation of around 2,400 feet in the valley of Clarebrook between Wheelback Mountain and Big Coolidge Mountain. And I couldn't tell if it was a 2,400-foot contour line off the shoulder of Wheelback, or if it was the 2,400 contour line off of Coolidge Mountain, Big Coolidge Mountain. I suspect it was probably closer to Wheelback because that's where the old Osseo Trail comes pretty close. But essentially, like you can see, like he was in the drainage in between Wheelback and Big Coolidge Mountain. And they determined that hypothermia was the cause of the death. There's a lot of there's a fair bit online sleuthing. I think that there's a dispute amongst the family members around what may have actually happened here. The one thing that I will say is that Fish and Game officials were quite surprised that the boy had climbed so high up the valley over steep terrain and through dense growth. And this search received widespread media coverage, and a lot of people were pulling for a miracle on this one, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. So he climbed about 1,200 feet of elevation above the condos. And with the amount of searching that was going on, they would have expected that they would have found him, but they ended up finding him in like a pretty dense area, and he didn't survive. So sad story.
Yeah, very, very sad one.
Yeah, and I think that this was one of these ones where they learned a lot about like best practices, and it really tightened up some of the formal, I think, approaches with the partnership between Fish and Game and search and rescue, but. One side note on the Patric McCarthy search event is that in the Appalachia Journal, when I was reading this, there was another story about two people that had drove up to Lincoln to participate in the search for Patric McCarthy. And unfortunately, they were turned away from the search efforts because they brought their dog with them. So basically, they were going to help with the search. They had a dog. But they were told because they had professional canine teams on the search, there was a concern that their pet would interfere with the trained search dogs. So they were turned away. And unfortunately for them, they decided that they were going to go hike to scenic Franconia Falls instead. And unfortunately, it had been raining for a few days, and the currents in the river were pretty swift. The dog ended up jumping in the stream to swim and had difficulty getting out. The male owner, so it was a male and female couple, the male owner attempted to rescue the dog and also drowned in severe current. So basically the dog and the owner ended up drowning. So there they are. They're coming up to try to help with a rescue. They didn't realize they couldn't bring their dog with them. And then they ended up going out to Franconia Falls instead. And the dog and the owner died drowning. So crazy, right?
Oh, that's sad. I mean, I know these situations are always tough. I always think of like, say if someone runs out to like rescue their dog when it falls in through the ice or something like that, but it's tough as an owner to like just sit there and watch your dog like get drowned or anything. I think your first gut reaction is, oh, I'll jump in and save it, and probably not realizing how severe the currents are and everything going on in a falls like that, especially after maybe a significant rain event. Like you might see the dog floating, but you're not aware of what's going on even underneath the surface. You might get dragged under and before, instead of one animal kind of dying, unfortunately, you got yourself at risk now. And I mean, I think you see these situations too, where maybe like if the wife would have jumped in too, and all three of them are unfortunately in a really bad situation. So it's a tough one to judge.
And you can only imagine what the wife's going through, standing there watching her dog pass away. So yeah, it's a terrible story, but nevertheless, very interesting connections there between Patric McCarthy and then that event. And then there was another story that I pulled here that I thought was interesting, is that there was in 2005, around November of 2005, there was a forest fire that burned off the slopes of Little Attitash Mountain. This was at the time one of the largest forest fires in the region. It burned 139 acres. I don't know if that fire that ended up burning over by the Beaverbrook Kinsman Ridge area, if that surpassed the 139 acres. I know there was another fire behind like Frankenstein Cliff in that area recently as well, but I don't know if those were as big as this one. But 139 acres, it was at the time the largest since 1907. So there was three big fires. There was 1886, 1903, and 1907. Before the National Forest was created, those were giant forest fires. This was the biggest one since that period there. And I guess they spotted smoke on November 14th rising from Lucy Brook between North Moat and Little Attitash. And then it was soon determined that this fire was located southeast facing on Little Attitash, north of the brook and the Moat Mountain Trail. So firefighters from the Saco Ranger District and the towns of Bartlett, Glen, and North Conway responded. And it pretty quickly, the wind fueled the fire, and there was a lot of dry leaves. So this one took off for a couple days, and they were using, I guess, heavy-duty leaf blowers powered by gasoline-fired chainsaw motors, and they were using these blowers on their back, I guess, to drive back dry leaves away from the edge of the fire. And they used rakes, shovels, and chainsaws to help clear a fire line. So by that Monday, so within I guess a day or two, 120 acres had burned, and an additional 20 were scorched by Tuesday. And by that time, they were able to get it under control. So pretty good efforts back then.
Yeah, this one kind of reminded me too. I didn't throw in the show notes before we started, but I had looked up a little bit about it. But the forest fire they had on Mount Hayes back in 2022 came to mind, and that's one. If you go through Centennial Trail up Mount Hayes, you can still see where it kind of scorched. Like there's burnt timber and stuff in there. I don't know, maybe a couple miles in as you sort of start, kind of after the really first steep bit and it levels out, you can kind of see where everything burned through, and you can tell like there's charred rocks and things like that. And it looks kind of interesting because it's all new growth now, but you can still sort of see evidence from these events happening. Right,
yeah, and it's they go on to talk a little bit about I guess there was a pretty big forest fire in 1911 around Rocky Branch Valley and that area, and then there was another pretty good sized one around Flat Mountain Pond in the Sandwich Range. But overall, the White Mountains National Forest has a pretty exemplary fire record, and it's attributed to pretty good management practices as well as a generally favorable climate where we do keep it pretty damp around here. So just interesting that a couple of these things have popped up over time.
Yeah, thankfully haven't had any really bad ones. I mean, I know there were some really big ones back when like the lumber barons were around, where they did a bunch of clear cut and they'd have stacked up logs around, and you got like coal around and things like that from the railroad trains. But it's been pretty good since it's been a managed national forest area.
Right. So. And then this next little bit of history that I wanted to talk about, Nick, was we've talked about this on the hiking Owl's Head. We've mentioned the Brutus bushwhack, which is the alternative route of bypassing the slide on Owl's Head. So the Brutus bushwhack, I've always people have talked about it and said like, oh yeah, it's named after some dog. I always assumed it was like from the 1970s or the 1980s. I didn't realize that. I think that this dog was around in the early 2000s, is basically when he was around 2003, 2004. And the dog's name is Brutus, or otherwise known as Mr. B. And Brutus is a 160-pound Newfoundland dog that apparently was quite a White Mountain legend back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it sounds like he actually did the Winter 48 not once but twice, and kind of same. That was the first thing I was thinking of, Mike, too. Is I think you assume sometimes these trails are like older than they are, and I'm like, oh, this, like, for people to call it the Brutus bushwhack, that's like a pretty recent, like last 20 years type of thing, probably. Right. And even I think too, just with probably the internet and hikers just communicating via social media and stuff, it's probably become more well known than it was even back then, I imagine, as an alternative to the Owl's Head slide.
Right, yeah, and there's in the Winter Spring 2006 edition of Appalachia, Steve Smith actually writes a 4 or 5 page article about Brutus and his background. Doesn't mention the Owl's Head bushwhack, so maybe that was something that came after this was written. But Brutus is a 160-pound Newfoundland dog. So when I was growing up, Nick, our neighbors had Newfies. They had St. Bernards, and then the St. Bernards died, and they got Newfoundlands. And one of my friends that lived down the street, his cousin came to visit. And they drove from New York one night, and they were very excited. So everyone was hanging up the street at my house. My friend's cousin got dropped off at the friend's house, but he spent about 2 seconds down there, and he ran up to. We kind of knew him because he'd come every summer. He came running up to our house to just start hanging out. It was dark out, and the Newfoundland in our neighborhood back then, the dogs were not on leashes; they just roamed wherever they wanted. We had a dog in our neighborhood named Midnight, who was a Newfoundland. Midnight just wandered around. We were all kind of like, we just knew Midnight and nothing. It didn't bother us at all. This poor kid came running up and saw Midnight and thought that he ran into a bear. And he was like, started screaming and crying. So it was kind of funny.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Yeah. One of my good friend Gerard, who's out west now, but his older brother had it still vividly just remember this, but he had an apartment around Providence College for a while. And used to visit and frequent there a lot. But one of his roommates had a puppy Newfoundland at the time who was enormous, even though he was a puppy. And he used to like to hang out. They had like one of those old like clawfoot bathtubs in the house. And when it would get hot, like the dog would you'd go in the bathroom, and like I wasn't aware of this dog the first time I went there. And I was at a party or something, and I'm like going to do my business in the bathroom, and I turned around me, and I'm like, oh my God, like what's in the bathtub behind me? I was like, oh, this giant Newfoundland's just like chilling out in there and just having a nap or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't think
You're like, oh, that's Boss Wallace from Pulp Fiction name. I was like, that's an awesome name. And I was like, okay, thanks for letting me know.
That is a great name. But but I mean, Newfoundlands, St. Bernards, Bernese Mountain Dogs, like you think like they're very cool dogs, but they're also, I don't think they're the easiest dogs, and they certainly don't do well in warm weather. So it makes sense that apparently Brutus was quite a winter hiker. So Brutus's owner was Kevin Rooney, who was from Williamstown, Vermont, and they had a little crew of hikers. I think there was a nice group of them that they went about and climbed all the 4,000 footers of New Hampshire. He ended up doing it, like Nick said, twice, and I guess apparently Mr. B or Brutus loves the snow, and it's a lot more comfortable for him to hike than it is in the heat of the summer. At the time of this article that was written, he had turned 5 in the winter season that he had gone after. I guess it looks like a single season 48 here. So his parents were both, he came from a good lineage of Canadian dog show champions, and his fully registered name was Brutus the Mighty King. And he began hiking soon after Rooney and his wife acquired him. His first hike was on Camel's Hump in October of 2001. And then they had done their first 4,000 footer in New Hampshire, Lincoln and Lafayette a week later. So I guess Mr. B struggled a bit on that day, and he had to get into his mode of hiking, and eventually he got his all-season list and worked that out, and then he began his winter climbs just after finishing his all-season climbs. I guess his first one was on Wildcat, and then he had, I guess, been quite a hit at the 4,000 footer awards event at the time, and then made a second appearance during the winter 4,000 footers. And I guess he started getting some traction on some different websites. Back then, in the early days before social media, he was still getting a lot of attention. I guess one of the hardest issues for him was getting up Blueberry Ledge Trail on Mount Whiteface. So they had to bring a harness and a rope in order to lower him over the trickiest ledges. So he didn't love that. The dog didn't love that. But by the end of the third pitch, he had it all figured out. And then the fourth went rather smoothly. So yeah, it's a little tricky there. On
160-pound dog too. So like, you really got to weight that thing down. I mean, that's like a pretty good weight of most people. So not an easy task.
Yeah. And then they write about his most memorable hike was a Z-Bonds Traverse, where he crossed 50-mile-an-hour winds. He was getting gust up to 70 miles. And I guess Rooney had to hold Brutus by his collar and huddle behind boulders during the worst gusts. And everybody made it through safely, but it was, it wasn't easy on that one.
My thought was that resonated probably with you even more so than me, but that area between the bonds in the winter, just not good. It can be really, really tough to get through there in the winter.
Yeah, not good. And then I guess what ended up happening is, so first of all, there's this thing. So Brutus was also awarded at the time the third ever Order of the Golden Biscuit, which is the ultimate tribute from the Four-Legged Explorers Association, which is otherwise known as FLEA. There had previously been two other honorees, one named Barclay Mayer, a frequent contributor to Appalachia in the 90s, whose human companion Doug Mayer is co-author of the Mountain Voices series published regularly in Appalachia. And then the other one is Tuckerman Ray, whose human companions are Brad Ray and Rebecca Oreski, the Mountain Voices co-authors. So there's this award called the Order of the Golden Biscuit, handed out by the Four-Legged Explorers Association. So I don't know what this is about, but people should do some research on it. But eventually, Brutus did end up moving out of New England and went out to California. So he was sorely missed there, but I think he carried on his hiking tradition in California. And then I'm assuming he's off in doggy heaven at this point. So, but that's a little bit about Brutus of the Brutus Bushwhack.
Yeah, not too bad for that. Mike, do you think it would help your plea to Mrs. Mike for a dog if you said that you wanted to get a dog so that he could become part of the Order of the Golden Biscuit?
I don't think Mrs. Mike could care less about that. She would just look at me and roll her eyes as she usually does.
Like, no, it's a real thing.
But that's it. So a little bit of history there, and then on to the hiker news here. We got probably about 10 events here, Nick. So let's blow through these. It doesn't look like there's anything, no fatalities, thank goodness, but definitely multiple rescues.
Yeah, for sure. We got some SAR catch up to do. So first one, injured hiker carried from Gorge Brook Trail on Mount Moosilauke. So this was 5 p.m. Saturday, July 26th. NH Fish and Game was notified of an injured hiker on the Gorge Brook Trail on Mount Moosilauke, so the side that leads from Marine Lodge. The hiker, 71-year-old in Northampton, Pennsylvania, was descending the summit of Moosilauke with a friend when she fell and suffered a serious but non-life-threatening injury. She attempted to reach the trailhead, being located around a half-mile away, she did have to request for assistance. So fortunately, rescuers are plentiful by way of the Dartmouth College's various summer programs and work parties, so Dartmouth College runs the Ravine Lodge up there. Sounds like they had some folks to help in the rescue crew to be able to get her down. They had 13 Dartmouth College students and one passerby EMT from a local medical service volunteered for the carryout to assist the CO officer on the scene. The rescue departed from Ravine Lodge at 5:41 p.m. They reached the victim at 6:04 p.m., carried her back to the trailhead, getting back at 6:30 p.m. And then the victim was received by medics from the Linwood Ambulance Service and transported to Littleton Regional Healthcare for further assessment and treatment. So just mention that the hiker was well prepared, and it was kind of just an unexpected injury. These things happen, and pretty good outcome on that one.
Well done. This next one here, multi-team effort helps hiker on Mount Washington. So Wednesday, July 30th, multiple rescue teams worked together to assist a young man who was experiencing medical emergencies. 16-year-old was anaphylactic event at Lakes of the Clouds Hut and located off the side of Mount Washington off of the Crawford Path. So this young man was part of a summer camp group, and he had somebody slipped him a peanut, Nick, or something. I don't know what happened, but...
Yeah, that was my thought. It's usually just a severe allergic reaction, usually, right?
Who knows what it was. It could be anything. But luckily, the AMC crew had an EMT on staff who was monitoring the young man, had already given him an EpiPen shot that had been administered, and they decided that he was going to need more so he could continue breathing, given the severity of the situation. So they must have been a little nervous if the EpiPen wasn't working on him. They called in the helicopter. So there's a helicopter landing zone right near the hut. So Fish and Game reached out to Dartmouth Hitchcock Advanced Response Team and requested a helicopter. So the DART helicopter extracted the patient, and then there was some thunderstorms and cloud banks around the area that they had to maneuver through, but the DART team got him onto the hut. They got to the hut by 5:17, so an hour and 15 minutes, and by 5:30, they had him loaded, and they were on their way to Dartmouth Hitchcock. So all's well that ends well. That's a good spot to have a medical issue.
Yeah, kind of a different one there. I feel like anaphylactic shock, but I'm glad they were able to get him down.
Right.
So next up, we're heading to the southern part of the state, kind of around where North Peck Monadnock is in Lynnborough, New Hampshire. So 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, July 30th, Fish and Game was notified of a lost and injured hiker in the area near Purgatory Falls. I know there's a lot of cool stuff down in this area in New Hampshire. I kind of have the Peck Monadnock Range on my list, but I've yet to get down here. But this looked beautiful. I did look it up. Hiker was identified as a 34-year-old from Lowell, Massachusetts. Cell phone communication was being made with her fiance. And they were able to locate her and begin walking out of the woods. So Mount Vernon firefighter and Fish and Game conservation officers reached the couple at 8:13 p.m. Freeman continued to walk out of the woods with assistance, and the victim reached her at 8:40 p.m. They were assessed by Wilton ambulance staff and transported to Monadnock Community Hospital in Peterborough with non-life-threatening injuries. So seems like a pretty easy one on that one.
All's well that ends well. And then this next one, Nick, is July 30th. At 2:23 on Mount Monadnock. This was pretty straightforward. 75-year-old hiker from Asheville, North Carolina. So we're going to think, I'm going to give her I'm going to assume that she's got a resume because she's from Asheville, North Carolina.
Yes.
So she was hiking with her husband when she began to feel ill after being treated for non-life-threatening issues. The hiker was carried off the mountain and reached the trailhead by 4:20. And was assessed by Jaffrey Ringe ambulance staff before being released. So I guess she just had a moment on the mountain, Nick, and she needed a little bit of a carry out, and then they were able to get her feeling a little bit better when she got in the parking lot.
Yeah. So it seems like this has happened a few times spring into summer, but multiple hikers rescued in Franconia Notch. This was back on Thursday, July 31st, 10:25 a.m. New Hampshire Fish and Game Department received a 911 call from a hiker who had suffered a fall on the Kinsman Ridge Trail in Franconia Notch. The hiker suffered a lower leg injury, preventing them from continuing down the trail. Conservation officers and volunteers from the Pemmy Valley Search and Rescue Team responded to the trailhead. Rescuers hiked approximately 0.7 miles up to the Kinsman Ridge Trail, reaching the injured hiker. They did say Kinsman Ridge Trail. Okay. I misread that as Mount Kinsman Trail before. Mm-hmm. But rescuers hiked approximately 0.7 miles up to the Kinsman Ridge Trail, reaching the injured hiker, who was identified as a 66-year-old from Thetford, Vermont. At 11:40 a.m., rescuers placed the victim in a litter and carried her down the Kinsman Ridge Trail, arriving at 1 p.m. Once at the trailhead, the victim was taken to Littleton ambulance to Littleton Regional Hospital for further medical treatment. and just mentioning that this victim was well prepared. Kinsman Ridge Trail, we've talked about on the podcast. I've gone up in the winter and off season, but it is a washed out mess. Right. So be careful if you're coming down that thing. It's not like it's steep slide or like a slide trail or something like that, but it's eroded and it's tough footing. Stuff happens. And then as the rescuers were finishing this carryout, a second call was received at 2 p.m. So just about an hour after they got the first victim to the trailhead from Kinsman Ridge Trail. At 2 p.m. of another hiker needing assistance, this time on the Greenleaf Trail in Franconia Notch. The hiker was located about 3/4 of a mile up the Greenleaf Trail, and rescuers reached them at 2:41 p.m. Hiker was identified as a 78-year-old of Fairhaven, Massachusetts, Ash's hometown, my wife's hometown. I didn't notice that. And they misspelled Fairhaven. She'd be upset about that.
I didn't even know that's a town.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not to make light, but the victim suffered a medical emergency and was unable to continue hiking. So at least it was only 3/4 of a mile up the trail, I guess, in that case. Yeah. Rescuers from PEMI and Fish and Game placed the victim in a litter and carried them down the trail, arriving at the trailhead at 3:55 p.m. So just about a two-hour turnaround time, less than that, actually. And they were taken by their hiking partners to a medical facility for further medical treatment.
I have to do some research on the data that I have, Nick, to see how many
back-to-backs,
like same-day rescues, and then look at the ones that are like back-to-back in Franconia. I know that like there's got to be at least half a dozen to 10 of them because it happens all the time.
Yeah, I think it kind of prefaced that before I went into it, but I wanted to say, yeah, it was one of these back-to-back ones, but I think it was only like a month ago where we had one where it was like Basin Cascade Trail and like Falling Waters or something like that, when they were within hours of each other. So I guess it's good, I guess, that they're in the same location and they're not rushing to another trailhead to help someone to a degree, but I also imagine it's a lot and very taxing on the SAR teams and the CO officers to be going like back-to-back litter carries helping people out or whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I imagine that's correct. So but this next one here is, but I will, like I said, I'll pull that data for the next full conditions and see how many there are. This next one, Friday, August 1st. This is a baby search and rescue, Nick. This one happened on Friday, August 1st. There was a call at 1:45. 49-year-old hiker from Hanson, Mass. was hiking back to the trailhead when she stumbled and fell, injuring herself and making it impossible to hike out on her own. This was in Arethusa Falls Trailhead, so very busy place here. But Fish and Game conservation officers and then some Bartlett and Jackson ambulance service responded and had the hiker in an ambulance at approximately 3:05. So they were able to assist her getting out of there, and she was taken off to Memorial Hospital for further evaluation. So just a little slip on Arethusa Falls.
Yeah, so it happens. That's kind of an interesting trail over there too.
Yes.
So next we're over to Carter Notch. This was reported on August 6th. Not sure of the exact date in the Fish and Game reports. It mentions the Tuesday morning, so it'd be Tuesday of that week. But approximately 7:30 a.m., New Hampshire Fish and Game was notified of an injured hiker at the Carter Notch Hut in Beans Purchase, which apparently is the town where Carter Notch Hut is located. I know there's all those sort of purchase towns in that area. The hiker was identified as a 66-year-old from Whiting, New Jersey, and she'd suffered a chest injury the night before when she tripped and fell between the bunk rooms and the hut. So not necessarily somewhere that you'd probably expect to get hurt, but I imagine if you're half asleep and kind of groggy, maybe she just tripped over something and it wasn't great. And I kind of forget too, the bunk rooms are totally separate from the hut, and so is the privy over there on Lake Zealand Hut. At the time, she did not need assistance and spent the night at the hut, but the injury worsened overnight, and by the morning, the pain was deemed too great to be able to hike out her own. So rescue crews comprised of conservation officers and volunteers from the Androscoggin Valley Search and Rescue, otherwise known as AVSAR, Lakes Region Search and Rescue, the AMC and members of AmeriCorps hiked up 19 Mile Brook Trail to the Carter Notch Hut and assisted the victim in what was assumed to be a 2.3 mile carryout. 30 rescuers responded to this call, so they had a really great turnout. So the victim was assessed by EMTs and was actually deemed capable of attempting to walk out under her own power with assistance. With several rescuers around in case she was not able to continue, she started hiking out at approximately noontime. After several hours of progress, slow and steady, she made it down the trail under her own power, arriving at an awaiting vehicle at 4:37 p.m. And from there, she opted to seek medical treatment on her own. So great turnout for that
Great
one.
turnout. They must have been so happy not to have to load her in the litter.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure they were thrilled. It must be one of those things where it's subtle, where it's like obviously they're willing. We have great search and rescue teams. They're willing to do whatever, but they must have been pretty darn happy when they're like, good, she can walk.
Right.
Can you walk? Let's go.
Exactly. So yeah. And then the next day there was a call at 10:45 for an injured hiker on the Castle Trail. So that is not one that you want. So it's 4.2 miles from Route 2. So way up on the Castle Trail. So
have you done that for the T25?
I have, yeah.
Mike too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a fun trail. I like it. It's very similar to...
the ridgeline looks spectacular.
Yeah, I feel like it's similar to... it's similar to, like, say, Caps Ridge, where you got those little bumps and you can hang out on all of them and explore the different little nubs on there, I guess you call them. But yeah, it's a good trail. I go down. I say go down. I don't go up it. It's a fun one to go down.
Okay.
But yeah, Castle Ridge. So I guess a runner had called in, came across this hiker that had suffered a serious leg injury. And due to several factors, a call was made to Army National Guard to inquire if they could assist in the hiker's extraction. Generally, using a helicopter is only done in life or limb situation, but the upper part of the Castle Trail is a very difficult trail to hike, let alone carry someone out on a stretcher. So due to the potential dangers to the rescuer, plus the fact that over 24 rescuers responded to a call the previous day, they figured maybe there'd be like 30 or 40 rescuers that they would need to help, given the overall distance. So they felt like this is justified because,
yeah.
I don't know, 30, 40.
I guess when you think, I guess between the handoffs, or if you had like, I'm just trying to think of like Caps, but like some of those sections where it's like, I'm trying to imagine you need like a line of people to hand something down like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like 20 doesn't even, actually I could easily see, 20 might not even be enough to get people down some of that ledge if you're talking dropping 10, 20 feet in a short distance. So
yeah, logistically, like you could get 30, 40 people managing above tree line, but once you get down below tree line,
those tight sections,
it's just tight. Yeah. So
yeah.
But anyway, I guess they did get to him. There was a small group of rescuers, conservation officers, and a few volunteers from Androscoggin Valley Search and Rescue headed up, but Army National Guard was able to assist. And it was a little bit tricky. There was cloud cover, but they were able to get the 59-year-old East Wallingford, Vermont hiker off to Gorham Airport, where he was transferred to Gorham Ambulance, and then eventually got to Androscoggin Valley Hospital in Berlin. So all's well that ends well there.
Yes, and we're back to Mount Monadnock as we head into the first week of August. So August 7th, 1:27 p.m., New Hampshire Fishing Game was notified by Southwestern New Hampshire District Fire Mutual Aid about an injured hiker on the White Cross Trail in Monadnock State Park. So I think White Cross is kind of the main route most people are taking up to Monadnock.
Right.
The victim was identified as a 42-year-old from Moosup, Connecticut, and she was hiking solo when she suffered an ankle injury during a fall. Passers-by made a call to 911 and waited with her until rescuers arrived. So that's nice. When people kind of stop and try to help out, they must have noticed she was in pain and been like, okay, this isn't great. Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, Mountain Patrol Rangers, conservation officers, and volunteers from the Upper Valley Wilderness Response Team, not familiar with them, responded on to the White Cross Trail. The victim was located at approximately 2,400 feet of elevation. So pretty good ways up. After receiving medical attention, she was placed in a litter and carried down to the trailhead at Monadnock State Park headquarters, arriving at the trailhead at 5:11. So not too long considering the incident. It looks like 1:27 p.m. they got her, and they got her down less than 4 hours later.
Right.
So the victim refused ambulance transportation and was transported from the state park in a personal vehicle. So this is kind of one of those just slipping, you roll your ankle or break it. Not great.
Right, yeah.
Happens, but they get her out.
Yeah, and Nick, just so the listeners are aware, Upper Valley Search and Rescue is they're the volunteer search and rescue team that covers like the southeast, or the southwest corner of New Hampshire and west, like Cardigan and that area there. They'll respond.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, thanks for bringing. I forgot it. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that, so thank you for clarifying.
Right. And then the last one here, last but not least, we got a missing grandpa, Nick, 83 years old.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what this looked like.
August 9th. So yeah, there was a group of 20 people hiking Black Cap, this one's at the top of Hurricane Mountain Road in North Conway. So a little group. somebody lost Grandpa, Nick. I don't know who was supposed to keep an eye on him, but they have one job and they didn't keep an eye on him. So
where is he?
83-year-old hiker from Ossipee. He's probably like, look, I'm enough of you people. I'm going to go off and do my own thing. But he was part of a group of 20 hikers, and they were coming down the trail. Everybody arrived at the trail. Actually, I don't think everyone arrived at the trailhead because the 83-year-old guy was missing, but everybody else arrived at the trailhead, and then they realized that this guy was nowhere to be seen. So some members of the hiking party began searching the area, and then some others placed a 911 call for assistance. It was determined that the hiker had turned onto a series of mountain biking trails. So like when you come down Black Cap, there's like this other section that can connect you over to Cranmore, and then there's a bunch of mountain bike trails that you can get yourself in trouble with. So they were able to call him, and that was it. He picked up the call, and they were able to generate coordinates to his location. It was about a mile over from the trailhead, and I guess this call came in around 9 o'clock at night. So they ended up finding him around midnight, and then he got back to the trailhead at 1 a.m. So Grandpa had an adventure, Nick.
Yeah, and at least they found him. I can see too. It's like sometimes even there's a local park that I take Ryland to, Diamond Hill State Park around here, and as mountain biking has gotten more popular, it's great to see that they're using it and recreating in the area. But yeah, I've talked to several people that have gotten kind of mixed up there with like, oh, and then all of a sudden it leads down a ledge or some section where a mountain biker might fly down that, but the average person is going to be like, I can't really do this easily.
Yeah, it gets a little confusing. So, but look, he's 83 years old. He's getting a Black Cap. I think that's good enough for him. Let's leave the guy alone. So
absolutely, keep crushing the peaks.
That's right. But that's all I got, Nick. So anything else before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. I think we're good. We might be around 2 hours again.
I don't know. We'll see. Day. But all right, until next time.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASRPodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one help!
Here's Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.